45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This is Maggie and Perloff.
Welcome in. It is Friday, the Maggie and Perloff show. Sadly, no Maggie Gray today. EJ Stewart is sitting in, and I'll tell you why it's sad in a second. Huge NBA game last night. We're going to break down every angle. Let's just go straight to the highlight.
Nembhard to the top of the circle, gives it to McConnell, who has been spectacular. Pass into traffic. Nice catch by Siakam. Far corner. Shepherd hits a three right in front of his own bench. Milwaukee needs a timeout. It is a 20-point lead for the home team.
What the hell was that?
Indiana Pacers knock out the Bucks. We're going to break down every angle. Is Pascal Siakam one of the most underrated players in the NBA? It's going to be wall-to-wall Pacers-Bucks today here on the Maggie and Perloff show.
Whoa. Time out. No. This is not what I signed up for. I'm not sitting here in a gold-plated Knicks jacket after a Knicks series win to talk about Tyrese Halliburton and Andrew Nembhard. Shout out to him, no Gonzaga guy. I love him. But no, that cannot happen today.
So Maggie's off today. She is being honored once again somewhere around the country. It was amazing. Maggie Gray, my co-host, gets a lot of awards. She deserves them all. And EJ is sitting in. It's not just that. Manny Rodriguez, another diehard Knicks fan, is in here. So I have my Philadelphia 76ers, my hometown team, loses to the Knicks, and two Knicks fans are here to annoy me about it. Terrible loss.
New York Knicks.
And it's the most painful way. It was actually, by the way, congrats to the Pacers. That's going to be a wild second-round series, Pacers-Knicks. Mm-hmm. This Sixers-Knicks series was, there's a local rivalry here, but it was one of the more fun first-round series I've seen in a while because you really had no idea what was going to happen in the fourth quarter. Both teams, you could either win it or lose it. Last night, the Knicks just made one more play, as Sixers coach Nick Nurse said. They had the big threes at the end. We did not. The Knicks advance over the Sixers. I'll let you, go ahead, EJ. Say what you want to say. You've been talking trash about these Knicks to me for a long, long time. You beat my Sixers. Have at it.
What more can I say? What have I told you about this Knicks team? The grittiness, the toughness, the fight.
Play the Pacers highlight again.
No, man. You play that Pacers highlight, I'm coming behind that glass. I'll do the board and the show.
In your face.
No, in all seriousness, though, it was a fantastic series. I saw some folks saying online this was probably one of the best first-round series we've seen in a little while.
Yeah.
And taking my fandom out of it, I think for a non-neutral basketball fan, you had to agree. This one game kind of had the same... it was kind of a microcosm of the whole series, right? It was wild swings. Just when you think you know what's going to happen, something changes, and Knicks go on a big lead. Then the Sixers go up on a fairly big lead, and then the Knicks come back, and then the Sixers make a push at the end.
Yeah.
It was really, Game 6 was really the whole series in one game, which was a great way to finish it, especially for my Knicks.
Absolutely, except the Knicks didn't blow it in the last 10 seconds. They learned their lesson.
Yeah.
There was a play at the very end where they went to foul because in Game 5, they failed to foul Tyrese Maxey, got off a key three-pointer. So we have plenty of time to talk about the Knicks. I mean, they're a real contender. Despite being shorthanded, they're a real contender in a watered-down East. But, man, the Sixers back to the drawing board. This is 10 years of Joel Embiid, an NBA MVP, has still not gotten to the conference finals. Now, listen, he has every excuse in the book. And I don't know really what to make of a big picture, but there is no way you can kill him for what happened in this series. He was on... Oh, okay, whatever, Manny. Play the Sixers victory song all you want. I was just saying something negative about the Sixers. You don't have to do that. That's unnecessary.
Manny, the $20 is in Venmo. You'll appreciate it.
Whatever.
Anyway, on Embiid.
But Joel, so Embiid is former MVP. He just can't get it right in the playoffs. But I'm not killing him coming off of the series because he had Bell's palsy. His face was affected. He was playing on one leg, could not defend. I have some friends who are a little mad that he passed up all those mid-range jumpers in the fourth quarter. But that dude, after he played 40-plus minutes in Game 5, there's no way he was lasting 4 quarters and leading them to victory. So I don't walk away disappointed with Joel Embiid, as weird as that sounds, because that's who he is. That's the most you're going to get out of him. To say that he blew the series is just not what happened.
I totally disagree. I think when you think about the question, Joel Embiid playing on a surgically repaired knee, is this a gutsy playoff performance or more of a choke job? I'm still leaning choke job because at the end of the day, these are the playoffs. Everybody's banged up. And if you're out there, you're playing. The excuses end.
That's ridiculous.
No, it's not ridiculous because once you step on a basketball court, the excuses end. Because at the end of the day, if you're too injured to make an impact, then don't play on the court.
Okay,
right?
He
decided to go out there. So now you're out there, it's all fair game. He also, mid-series, when they were down 0-2, said that they were the better team and they were going to win this series. So you then can't turn around. You go 6 points, 1 field goal in the fourth quarter, and then say, well, you know what? I gave it a great effort. No, that's all thrown out the window when you started, going at people's knees and ankles and you say you were going to win the series. You were out there playing. And at the end of the day, Pearl, as you kind of mentioned, this series ended how every playoff Sixers failure ends. It ends with Joel Embiid hobbling up and down the court, something wrong with his face, and them going out because he got outplayed by a bigger star on the other team. I don't think that this year it changes because he had this injury and this Bell's palsy. I'm sorry.
It's been good.
So by your logic, that means that Giannis had a better series for the Bucks than Joel Embiid did for the Sixers. You're like, if you're hurt, just don't go out there. The Bucks are going to the same place Joel is. They're home just because Giannis didn't even try to gut it out. At least Joel got out there. And Joel, the thing about it, every year something does happen, but you can't blame him for any of this. Like the guy was scoring. I don't know how he scored so many points. And to say a bigger star, yes, Jalen Brunson was the bigger star of the series. But if Joel was healthy, then he is the bigger star. If Joel is healthy, the Sixers win in six. They win in 6 games, maybe 5 if Joel is healthy.
Wait, no, how can you say that if Joel Embiid is healthy,
because he can play anything on defense, and then there's no 40-point games for Jalen Brunson.
Joel Embiid's been in the NBA for how long? 10 years. This is not the first time that Joel Embiid's been in the playoffs. We've seen what playoff Joel Embiid is like. Guess what?
He usually wins the first round.
Well, yeah, but I mean, we've seen him against other big stars, and guess what? He usually gets outplayed. So say, well, if he was healthy, he would have been better. First of all, I mean, that's like saying, well, if the sky is clear, and and on the North Pole, the weather will be pretty balmy. Like he doesn't get healthy in the playoffs. He's always going to be dealing with something. So the Joel Embiid you got is the Joel Embiid you're going to get when you get to April and May. This is just a player he is because his body breaks down at this point in time. But no, he got played by now a bigger star. And at the end of the day, when we look at a guy who was an MVP, him and a lot of the fans that supported him, and not just Sixers fans, just basketball fans, last year before the playoffs, we're talking about how he was better than Jokic, and how if he didn't get that MVP, it would have been some kind of crime that Jokic would have been thought of as a better player than him. We can't now go from a year later and say, well, him going out in the Knicks first round to the Knicks and Jalen Brunson is all of a sudden not his fault. No, we're not doing that. We can't do it. We can't say you're better than Jokic last year, and then this year, oh, sorry, Embiid, you got outplayed by Jalen Brunson. You made 1 field goal in the fourth quarter, but pat your head. Good job, good effort.
What is this getting outplayed by Jalen Brunson? Jalen Brunson's 6'1". Joel Embiid's a 7-foot center. It's not like they're matching up. The fact that Brunson hit about 10 layups right in Joel Embiid's face.
Yeah, that's one reason.
You can't say that Joel Embiid did not put out 100% in this series that he had. He did everything he could. The guy was playing way too many. He was out of shape. He's had knee injury. He had surgery in February.
Yep.
It's May. I mean, the dude had his meniscus operated on, and he was out there. So I give him credit for that. This is what you get with Joel Embiid. I don't care about the MVP thing. I understand. I would not have minded if they given it to Jokic.
Okay.
I'm not a huge regular season MVP guy anyway. I always say to Maggie that they should just do it at the end of the season, which I don't understand why people aren't with me on that one. But regardless, you're not saying that Embiid was expected to go to the finals this year. This was a rebuilding year for the Sixers. They decided not to spend at the All-Star break because they want to bring stars around Embiid. There's no way. Nobody was saying, oh, look at the 76ers team with a hobbling Joel Embiid. Man, if they could just get past the Knicks, they're going to the NBA Finals. This was sort of a lost season already. They just gutted it out to even make it 6 games. So to kill Embiid for this year, it just doesn't make sense.
2 reasons why I disagree with that. Number one, you guys did say, well, as long as we get James Harden out there, we'll be in much better shape. And I'm not
yes, we will be.
Well, no, I'm saying this year. You guys said going into the season, if James Harden's gone, it doesn't matter what happened, we'll be in much better shape.
Yes.
Guess what? You won 1 series last year with James Harden. You won no series this year with James Harden.
And how many is James Harden going to win this year?
He may win none as well, but that's not the point. Forget about what Harden's going to do. It was about how him being off the team meant so much better things for the Sixers. It meant Maxey was going to be better. It meant Embiid was going to be better. It meant the vibes were going to be better. You can't go now and say, well, we had injuries, we had excuses. Like, one of the guys that you said was the problem and the reason why you couldn't advance in the playoffs is gone, and you did worse this time around. And number 2, this was the team you guys wanted. How many times did we hear, well, in terms of the end of the season, it was like when it came down to who was going to get that 2 seed, we were like, I hope the Bucks don't get it, or the Knicks, they probably shouldn't win this last game because then they got to face the Sixers. That's a very dangerous matchup. But going into the series, first of all, these teams, the Sixers started out as favorites by Vegas. Then they made it an even series closer to the series. So it was seen as a toss-up. And to be fair to Vegas, it seemed like a toss-up in these games. They were all really close. But, like, the series was essentially a toss-up. Going into the series, people said the Knicks should be avoiding the Sixers. Joel Embiid doesn't need an excuse saying, well, now we were a 7 seed and nobody expected us to be here. He said they're going to win the series when they were down 0-2. He said that they were the better team than the Knicks. So you can't go back now and say, well, he gets a participation trophy for going out there and being injured. Credit to him, it's gutsy, and he tried, and that's great. But he's at a different level at this point. He's an MVP caliber player. He's an All-NBA caliber player. He's a guy we consider one of the best centers of all time. Going on in the first round, regardless of the circumstances, is pretty pathetic.
All right. First of all, if they played the Celtics, the number 1 seed, it would be, we wouldn't even be talking about the Sixers because they would have lost 5 days ago. It would be 4-0.
I agree.
So they were wise to avoid the Celtics. At least they had a shot in this series because the Knicks are, let's face it, a little shorthanded too.
For sure.
And I give the credit. I don't understand how every player on the Knicks plays 47 minutes and still has some gas left at the end, where the Sixers are just dead tired. When Jalen Brunson, they gave Jalen Brunson a little 2-minute rest in the fourth quarter.
Which I was actually going crazy about. I was like, what
But then he
doing?
came back and he was completely re-energized. That never happened with Embiid. And no, everything you say about Embiid is right, but this is not the year to kill him. This is the year that you give the Sixers a pass and you really reload in the offseason. At least you try to. The plan was not to win this. I disagree with what you said. The plan was not to win this year. The plan was to get Paul George in the offseason and really reload around Embiid. And now that Tyrese Maxey has established himself as a second star, maybe you do something. There was no plan this year. Nobody in Philadelphia really thought the Sixers were going anywhere this year. So there's not this idea that Joel Embiid is, let's just say it, a choker. I don't think he choked this. I mean, we could put up a poll. I don't know what the wording is. Did Joel Embiid blow this series, or do you give him credit for his effort?
Yeah, I mean, and we can talk about the poll, probably in the break about how we exactly want to do it. I think just for me, I guess maybe we see Joel Embiid a little differently. Like, I mean, Knicks fans don't necessarily love Embiid right now, but I think all of us would acknowledge that he is one of the best centers in the NBA in terms of top 2, probably one of the best players in the NBA. Again, an MVP candidate 3-4 years in a row. He won the MVP last year. There's just got to be some level of expectation for a guy who averages that many points, who gets that many accolades, that come playoff time, for whatever reason, he can't get it done.
I know what
there's no other.
The
player.
reason is the dude is injured.
Right, but that's not. But like, at what? So when do we like all of a sudden guys being hurt or banged up during the playoffs? All of a sudden that's an excuse, because we didn't give Jason Tatum an excuse. He was in the finals going up against the Celtics with essentially a broken wrist, and we're still saying, hey, Jason Tatum, he doesn't deserve MVP's consideration because of what happened against the Warriors a couple of years ago. Steph Curry was playing on a bum knee against LeBron when LeBron had that chase down dunk and chase down block, and Kyrie made that shot, and we don't say, Warriors 3-1 deficit. Nah, no worries. That was all Steph Curry's knee injury. No, like, this is the playoffs.
That's what I always say.
And he should be held to that same standard. Otherwise, then why does he get all those MVP awards?
We gave a mulligan to the Nuggets when Jamal Murray went down. We all acknowledged that wasn't the same team. That if Murray was there, the Nuggets would have gotten farther. I think that's the last mulligan we've given anybody in the playoffs.
Well, I got to say one thing too. Steph Curry missed an entire series. We're talking about the 2016, 16 NBA playoffs. Curry misses an entire series with a knee injury, comes back, and he's good, but not quite the same. He was 50 times healthier than Joel Embiid was in this series. There were plays where Joel just wandered off, limped into the crowd when a guy was coming. He was injured. So to say that it was his fault. And meanwhile, and here's the real problem. And if we're going to get into Sixers, Tobias Harris was 0 points last night. They're $50 million waste of money. I mean, he has ruined this team for 5 years. The Sixers, I said it last night, the process is dead. Will you at least agree with me? The process is dead. But let's focus on Embiid here.
Real quickly, though, just to say something real quick, though. I mean, Tobias Harris, like, that's where we're going with this. I mean, again, Joel Embiid is an MVP. And when we come back and we go do a referendum on the season, we do a referendum on Joel Embiid's place in the NBA, and we're saying, well, if Tobias Harris would have did more, then maybe he could have done something.
More.
Like, no, come on. Like, don't give me Tobias Harris. Come on. Nobody cares about him.
Joel scored 39 points last night. He was carrying sort of NBA journeymen like Kelly Oubre and Nicholas Batum. Like, that guy shouldn't even be on the court. But Embiid, to his credit, showed up and was a typical Joel Embiid on offense. Now, he's terrible on defense right now. That was a big problem. But I can't walk away from the series and blame Joel Embiid's effort in any way.
But I feel like you're trying to have it both ways. You're trying to say, well, he had these big games where he had 39 points, and early in the series he had 50, he had 39, 29 earlier in the series, 34 in game 2. We give him credit on offense for still being essentially Joel Embiid. He averaged 33 points in this series. So we talk about how injured he was. This guy offensively was still a load. He still was a problem. Was he 100% himself? No, but he still was a great player. We can't say, well, he had these big games. He's scoring 39 points. He's carrying these journeymen. But at the same time, well, no, give him a break because he was hurt. He averaged 33 points in the series. What do you want from him?
Let me ask you a question. If Jalen Brunson had torn his meniscus and had surgery in February, do the Knicks win this series? Of course not. No, I mean, he was healthy, and he's a tank, by the way. All right, give us a call, 855-212-4227. Are you with me, Joel Embiid? Give him some credit. Strong effort. It sounds so sad. I gotta reach the stomach. Or are you with EJ that Joel Embiid, a supposed MVP player, blew it? But now we got to look at the NBA playoffs. I mean, it is incredible, the litany of stars who are sitting at home now. Another former MVP goes home. We're going to see probably the Clippers are going to go out, and some more MVP-style players are gone. There is basically anyone that played 5 years ago in the NBA and was a star is out. So now we have to look ahead. We need a new generation of stars. EJ, you think this is a good thing because it provides opportunities for us to get someone to know someone else. I have a question. With LeBron gone, Curry gone, KD gone, who's next? We'll try to answer that next right here on the Maggie and Perloff Show. We are the New York Knicks.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
We are the New York Knicks. 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 Say go New York, go New York, go. Go New York, go New York, go. Say go New York, go New York, go. Go New York, go New York, go. We're back on track.
You know the lyrics, Perloff.
Scoring more is 94 and the Knicks
yeah,
are hardcore.
LJ.
And I'll tell you like this, we ain't never looked sharper. With Hubert, Bonner, Gray, and Harper. It's the Knicks and we're back on pace. Everyone's gearing up for the
All right.
championship race and the fans are going.
Maggie's out. I'm in control here. Get that music off of the show
thank
and
you.
never, ever bring it back. How is this possible? Maggie never misses a day. Never misses a day. She's had this one on the calendar for 4 weeks. Maggie Gray's getting honored once again in New York somewhere, and she can't come in today. And the one day I have to sit next to E.J. Stewart, and the Knicks beat my Sixers, and Manny's here, also a diehard Knicks fan who's insane on Twitter about the Knicks. Drives me crazy. But
I think this was a long game from Maggie. I think she knew.
She looked at the calendar and said that that Josh Hart's going to hit a big three to make
there
me
was
suffer.
no way she was confident that this series was going to wrap in 6.
Oh no, I'm gonna disagree. Maggie's pretty. We know Maggie is smart. Maggie sees. She is Machiavellian Maggie, as we say on this show. I think she looked at the schedule, saw the series how it broke down. A lot of folks like myself were predicting Knicks in 6, and as much as you hate the Knicks celebration, I think Maggie actually may hate it more. I think she hates it just as much. I mean, she made People Lottie have fart sounds ready to go from when the Knicks even come up on this show. So I think she strategically was like, you know what? It's the last show before I ever have to talk about the Knicks because the Game 7 would have been on a Saturday. So
Haters.
No. Maggie hates when my teams win so much. And I hate when her teams win. I love Maggie, but I can't stand when her teams win.
I mean, all the times you mentioned wide right and Josh Allen failures, we didn't get the hint that maybe you got some animosity from Maggie's teams.
Oh man, I won't even talk to her if the Mets are on a streak. So no, we definitely root against each other's teams. I don't know why. It's human nature. And I love you, EJ, but I hate your Knicks fandom more than anything in the world.
Thank you.
Sorry,
that's a compliment.
Okay, I am looking back to 2009 and who's won the NBA MVP. LeBron, Derrick Rose, Steph Curry, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Giannis, Jokic, Embiid. What do all of them except one person have in common?
Well, I guess two, right? Because Westbrook and Harden are technically still in it.
No, the Clippers are going to lose.
So I guess you're saying that most of them are gone.
They're gone. Everybody's gone. The party is, everyone left. Anyone that we know is gone. So this obviously can't be great for the NBA this year. You do have the Nuggets, the defending champion, but there is going to be sort of a change in the guard, a lack of star power, maybe a vacuum. LeBron has to retire at some point. Curry's getting older. KD is probably already on the way down. So here's the question for you, EJ. EJ Stewart sitting in for Maggie Gray. Who is the next face of the NBA? I know that's always sort of a cliche conversation, but it's really relevant right now because they need a face. Mm-hmm. They're sitting there negotiating with Amazon and all these TV networks, and Andrew Bogus is here too, and you're welcome to weigh in. To me, it is obvious who is going to fill this vacuum.
Okay.
I will start.
Yeah.
You can't miss him. He's a dude 7'5". He's French. I said he was going to be a bust. I was dead wrong. Victor Wembanyama is the next. He is going to be the best thing the NBA has when LeBron leaves.
Jama?
Yeah, I was dead wrong. I talked to a friend the other day, just real quick, who doesn't watch NBA games. He only watches YouTube highlights. And that's about what? 55% of NBA fans right now are only watching YouTube highlights.
Yeah,
it's kind of how you
accurate.
You consume the NBA on YouTube. He said, I watched an hour and a half of Wembanyama highlights the other day because it's something you've never seen. You've never seen a guy that height move like that, do a crossover dribble, dunk the ball from 8 feet away, then hit a three. He described it as a feeling of awe watching him because you've never seen anything like that. And then it dawned on me, he is going to cross over. He's the next face of the NBA. He is the next LeBron.
I think Embiid will be, Wembanyama, sorry. He will be the next best player in the NBA. When you think about whenever Jokic's time as the best player ends, because right now he's obviously the best player, it will be Wemby's time. And that, the way he played this year, that may be way sooner than we expect. It could be maybe 2 years from now. That's how great I think Wemby is. I don't think that means he's the face, because I think, as we've seen in this league, maybe with the exception of Shaq, but I don't know if even Shaq was ever the face of the league. The face of the league is just never a big man. It's just never the guy who's 7'4", 7'1". As Shaq actually said over the weekend, nobody roots for Goliath.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be someone more in line with the kind of guys we've seen. And usually it's the exciting swing man. It's your Kobe's, it's your LeBrons, it's your Jordans, it's your Dr. J's, it's your Birds. It's Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards is a guy, he was a co-star in the movie that you were in. So he's already, and he was a rookie. So, and it's kind of similar to Shaq in that, like, he's getting movie deals that early in his career. I think even Hollywood, maybe saw something that maybe, honestly, the rest of the country maybe didn't see. He's a lot of fun off the court, just in terms of, like, his interviews are hilarious. He seems to be a very funny guy in total. But even outside of just his charisma, his game is super marketable. I mean, the guy has a 40-inch vertical. He's dunking on people. He's sick handles. I mean, that play in Game 4 when they swept the Suns, when he goes baseline and dunks on the Suns after blowing past Bradley Beal. I mean, that looked like Michael Jordan.
That was the Michael Jordan dunk.
It looked like Michael Jordan. I watched this, and I was watching this video like 500 times. I'm like, this is Michael Jordan I'm watching. Mm-hmm. Now, he's in Minnesota, so that may be a problem, but as we know in the NBA, guys can change teams, and maybe he'll have eyes for elsewhere. But to me, Anthony Edwards is the most exciting guy in the NBA right now. And when they look in line of the guys who have been that guy, it's simply been a swing player. So I'm going to go with Anthony Edwards.
Well, I'll tell you, one thing about Anthony Edwards, the highlights are amazing. If you actually watch a Timberwolves game, it's not quite like the highlights the entire time. I'll just say that. Mm-hmm. And also the Timberwolves, I think they have to win a little bit more for that to happen. If they beat the Nuggets, then, man, you could be onto something because he's going to ascend quickly.
And I think you make a good point about the games not necessarily being the highlights. I think especially during the regular season, because I've said it on the show, like, we kind of think of them because of Anthony Edwards. Oh, there's this exciting, high-flying team. No, they're like a slow-down defensive team. They play 2 7-footers, one of them being Rudy Gobert, who you always mention is like a big giraffe out there. He doesn't necessarily look quite aesthetically pleasing in terms of how he plays the game. But I'll say this, though. I think during the playoffs, he has kind of looked like the highlights. And maybe it was because he went up against a corpse of the Suns team. But basically, all the stuff that you think you see from Anthony Edwards in a highlight reel, him crossing guys up, shooting threes, talking trash to Kevin Durant, dunking on the whole team, blocking shots from out of nowhere, that's essentially what you got in the playoffs. So maybe we're seeing Anthony Edwards ascend to a level that we hadn't quite seen. I had been a little skeptical when people, even before me today, were saying Anthony Edwards was the next guy. Because I felt like, as you said, during the regular season, he was really good. I didn't see this guy who was taking over night in, night out. That's the guy I've seen in the playoffs, so I got to buy what I'm seeing right now.
Yeah, I mean, great test against the Nuggets. All right, we got Manny Rodriguez here. We got Carlos Ortiz, Andrew Bogus. Anyone else have a nomination for the next face of the NBA? I didn't let you prep for this, Bogus. So because there's one name that has not been raised who I think people think might be the guy.
I'm going to go with the 25-year-old Canadian kid, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the guy who's going to finish in the top 3 in MVP voting.
You mean that guy from the commercial?
Yeah, what a pro wants, what a pro needs. That guy. I mean, he's already starring in AT&T commercials.
That commercial is just awful, by the way.
He can also obviously sing along to Christina Aguilera's song. So, I mean, I think he's got the total package.
All right, Carlos?
Anthony Edwards, I think right now is still the unsung NBA superstar that hasn't gotten his flowers yet. The Timberwolves, it seems to me like they're a year too early, but Anthony Edwards is about to be that dude. Plus, he was a co-star in your movie.
Yeah, he was awesome. All right, Bogus?
I'm going to go with, I'm trying to win your little secret mini contest here of the name that should have been said. So I'm going to put out a guy who I think had a number of things gone differently, both in and out of his control, would be the universal answer. Ja Morant.
Wow.
Oh, that's not the name.
Ja Morant is a spectacular basketball player, which is why his decisions off the court and the injuries are so frustrating and disappointing, because he was the answer to this conversation like 18 months ago.
Right.
And then, you know what, hit the fan. Allowing other guys to jump in here. But if he's healthy and being smart, and that Grizzly team was fun before it wasn't, Ja Morant's the dude, man.
I will say this, and Ja Morant's an interesting name. I think you're not wrong that he has a chance, because when he first said job, I said, he might have forfeited that. But you know who didn't forfeit that early in his career when he made dumb mistakes and wasn't the most coachable? Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson early in his career had issues on and off the court. Obviously he's very notorious spats with Larry Brown. That did not stop him from when he got his act together, even for just really one season, from being this cultural icon. So Ja Morant can turn this around because, as you said, the game is probably outside of Anthony Edwards, is maybe even including Anthony Edwards, is the most exciting game.
And we like comeback stories. No matter what you're coming back from, even if it's your fault, people like redemption.
Overrated. Dude can't shoot. He's not going to.
It's a tough sell for me.
When he's dunking over,
he's basically Derrick Rose light. Like he's like a 30% 3-point shooter. You saw Jalen Brunson, by the way. I would take him over Ja Morant because that dude can freaking snipe from outside. Ja Morant cannot.
Yeah, but you're talking about a guy who could dunk over Wemby.
And probably will next year.
It's a 3-point NBA. I honestly think that Ja Morant is very much like Iverson and very much like Derrick Rose. Like, you have a limit with a guy who's not a great outside shooter.
Basketball-wise, I see your point on Brunson, but if you're selling a guy, putting him on TV, Brunson, Iverson was pretty popular.
Well, here's my question. Nobody said Luka Doncic. Why is Luka not the face? I mean,
I think he's a star now, isn't he? He's going to be like top 3 in MVP voting.
But he's 25. Like, why can't he be the next face of the NBA?
I think he has a problem that I think Wemby has a little bit, and I think Joker has. I think Joker shouldn't be disqualified in this because right now the face of the league, I would argue, is still LeBron James. So everybody's available for this. I think Giannis is in this conversation. I think Jason Tatum's in this conversation. But I think the foreign thing is a little bit of a problem. And, Manny mentioned Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and, I love Shai. You know how much I love Shai. I think the Canadian thing matters. I really do.
Wait.
I think it matters.
No. So obviously the Eastern European thing matters. That's why Joker is never going to be the face of the NBA.
Right.
But the Canadian, Canada is basically America.
It's America North.
Yeah.
Look, it hasn't stopped Drake.
America's hat.
It hasn't stopped Drake from being a big superstar. But
most of these guys come down to America. I mean, didn't Jamal Murray and Booker? Did they? Not Booker. Jamal Murray came down and played in Florida. Like. That's no different. Toronto is, a North American city. You can't tell me that eliminates a guy.
No, I think it will. I think it will. I hope I'm wrong because if Shai becomes the face in the NBA, that'd be amazing because he is such a fun guy to watch. But
that is ridiculous. That Shai, people don't even know Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is from Canada.
But all it takes is one Google search. Is once you get this level of fame, people will see it. And,
well, maybe the Olympics. Maybe the Olympics they noticed that, but.
But I mean, and look, it's not like Canadian basketball. Well, no, we had Steve Nash.
But we
have seen this before.
You're not down. I mean, Wembanyama's different. I don't think that people care that he's French. I think he's fascinating despite being overseas.
I think there's a level of, I guess, I'll just say patriotism when it comes to American fandom. Because if you were talking about being a great star, the biggest face of the NBA, there's got to be some level of crossover.
I don't know.
And I think what helped LeBron a ton in this era was those gold medals they won overseas playing for Team USA.
Right. I know what you mean, but I don't think nobody's booing Shaden Sharp because he's from Canada.
It's not necessarily booing, but we're talking about the face of the NBA. Like there's a big step. Are they gonna hate Shea because he's from Canada? No.
Get out of here, you Canadian.
Are they gonna give him the crown of being the face of the NBA in a sport that we very much still hold as American? It is really not. It's an international game, but Team USA loses and everybody wants to do a referendum on AAU basketball and high school basketball and what the hell is wrong with American basketball. So like we still kind of look at this as this is our game. I just don't think, even though it's just north of the border, that a Canadian basketball player is going to be the face of the league. That would shock me.
All right, let's get the headlines. Andrew Bogusch, what do you got?
Oh, hey again, guys. Congratulations to those Knicks. For the first time in 50 years, they are NBA champions after winning Game 6 in Philadelphia last night, 118-115. Within moments, the Celtics, Cavs, Magic, Pacers, and the entire Western Conference all conceded that title to Jalen Brunson and friends.
I think that's what we've been talking about all year, is just make sure we keep fighting no matter what. It doesn't matter what the situation is. We're going to stick together. We're going to fight.
Game 6, another mini classic with Brunson and his Knicks racing to an early 22-point lead, then trailing by 3 at halftime, then by 10 in the third. They took the lead for good on Josh Hart's 3 with 24 seconds left. He finished with 16 points, 14 rebounds, and 7 assists, while Brunson had 41 and 12 helpers. Round 2 starts Monday night at the Garden with the Pacers in town. Indy winning its Game 6 in Milwaukee, 120-98. That's not true. It was in Indianapolis over the Bucks. 41 bench points from Obi Toppin plus T.J. McConnell. Head coach Rick Carlisle is all sorts of optimistic.
I've said for 2 years now, we're a franchise with big dreams, and but you have to have big dreams and aspirations, to continue to grow and to continue to push yourselves.
And as we learned yesterday, you need big butts to play defensive line in the NFL. The Bucks, meanwhile, exiting round 1 for the second spring in a row. They never had Giannis in this series. Damian Lillard did return from his 2-game absence with that Achilles issue last night, scoring 28 in 35 minutes.
So EJ was ripping Joel Embiid for not delivering in the clutch here, playing on one leg, in my opinion. Is there any criticism of the Bucks here? I mean, Giannis in play, Dame was hobbling. I don't think so because the dudes were hurt. What do you expect? So why do they get a pass and not the Sixers?
Because those guys actually didn't go out there on the court. They didn't think that they could make an impact in very key games. So therefore, they didn't actually play. So I think you look at it and say, it's kind of a lost year. Now, I would say I'm not giving the organization a pass as a whole because at the end of the day, they put together an old roster. Dame has been injury prone for now like 4 years. Giannis is not old, but he's a guy who's also dealt with some injuries in the playoffs. So, and Middleton is a walking injury. He actually
and they also hired Doc Rivers.
Right, and they got Doc Rivers. So
there we go. Little spin doctor music for Doc Rivers.
You hired the spin doctor. So, do I give him a pass for the series? Sure. For the franchise losing the first round? No, because you put out a team that was going to be susceptible to this.
Gosh, they've been so bad under Doc Rivers. You don't even need to make fun of him anymore. It's not even it's not entertaining to do that.
It's still funny to me.
Yeah, that guy, I feel like we haven't even talked about what a disappointment there. All right, what else you got?
Kawhi Leonard's knee injury will keep him out again as the Clippers face elimination in Game 6 in Dallas. Now, somebody tell me why, without Maggie, we're still doing Bills stories. We now have video of Buffalo's combine interview with eventual draft pick wideout Keon Coleman. The first voice you're going to hear here is offensive coordinator Joe Brady.
What do you do outside of football?
Chill at the house, golf, bowl a little bit.
You golf?
I ain't no golf. I'm Tiger. Wish he could. I'm not Tiger Woods now. I wish I could putt and do all that. Them boys out there shooting 5 under. I ain't doing all that. I'm like TV 5 to hit just to put it in. But I'm gonna go have fun. It's controlled chaos. You frustrated, but you can't get mad. pull a muscle in your back trying to hit the ball. So it forces me to stay calm and just swing.
I'm Tiger, wish I could is a all-time
This
line.
guy is my favorite non-Giants player in the NFL right now. He hasn't even taken a single snap.
I'm over it. I'm sick of Keon Coleman.
It's been 72 hours.
Oh, my God. It's been 72 hours and 47 viral tweets. Dude, just catch a football. Would you stop, being on social media? Not that he's on social
He
media.
didn't post his video. The Bills did.
Boo this guy.
It's my friend PFT commenter at a comedy goes, is he a social media plant by the Bills social media team? Is this a real player or is he just a comedian? What is going? And actually, he is a really good player.
Yeah.
Ran a slow 40, but maybe it's because Maggie's a Bills fan. I'm dreading all the Keon Coleman because this is just the beginning. Every day we're going to come in here and Keon Coleman's going to have a great line. When does it end?
When does it end with you, Perloff?
Oh,
I mean, do you not like Santa Claus?
Because he shops in the off season. He's just like us.
You gave me crap for not giving away free chicken sandwiches on 2 missed field goals. I mean, come
And
on,
you
Keon,
deserved it.
Right,
Everybody should have
okay,
got chicken
fine, maybe
sandwiches.
so. But Keon Coleman is a gift that I think keeps giving. I think even
Keeps giving until we hammer it into the ground and milk it for every second it's worth to the point where we're so bored of that dude.
When he stops being funny, that's when we'll get off the Coleman train. But right now, everything he's putting out is a hit. He's Drake 5 years ago.
Everything, by the way, it's amazing. We're talking about this guy. Everything he's putting out has been a hit.
It's been 2 weeks.
He hasn't been on a football field since December, and I don't even. What's he putting out?
But what athlete do you know in the last 25 years has made Macy's relevant? Just the name drop Macy's, he's gonna get a sponsorship deal from that clip alone. This kid is absolute gold.
You know what I will say though, and why you know what's funny about the Keon Coleman phenomenon? He seems like a guy that the quote-unquote NFL hardened guys that we talk about when they ask you these very weird combine questions, they expect you to be all about football and all about serious. He feels like a guy that most NFL teams would say that's not the kind of guy that's serious enough about football to be in the locker room and to be expected to be a great player. I actually think it's refreshing the Bills saw this character and didn't think get him off my draft board. They wanted him on the team. Josh Allen, I'm sure they told Josh Allen, hey, this guy's a character. Josh Allen wanted him on the team. I find that pretty interesting and pretty cool because we think of football teams being so serious and not taking themselves so seriously. Here we have a team really embracing he's clearly an oddball, and I say that in the most affectionate way. I love him, but he's clearly a little bit of an oddball, and football is usually so almost militaristic in terms of be all about the game, don't be funny, be serious. Though Bill Belichick, just do your job. This guy is just having a ball, doing whatever, shopping at Macy's, playing golf. Yeah. And the Bills embracing that. I do think it's cool. Except you don't like it.
If they lose, by the way, it won't be as cute. I'll tell you, a guy like this, Juju Smith-Schuster, huge social media guy. Everyone's like, oh, get off Instagram. He gets out on the field. He's an absolute killer. He's actually almost a dirty player. He's so physical, but everyone thinks about the Instagram. But nobody likes him anymore because his career has gone down. So Keon's going to have to play up to this level, or it's going to become a criticism that he's so funny. You know how the NFL works.
You are right about that because at the end of the day, he is a second-round pick. And now when we think about most recognizable rookies, he is skyrocketed. Yeah. I mean, outside of the quarterbacks, is he maybe the next most recognizable rookie? And when does that happen for a second-round pick that wasn't a quarterback?
I looked at a Florida State highlight reel of him. That dude, how did he fall the second round? He's got a good highlight reel. I know he ran a really slow 40.
That's why.
And listen, we've all been tricked by that. Larry Fitzgerald ran a slow 40, and it obviously is amazing. So I'm really nervous that Keon Coleman's going to be good because I've decided I'm just rooting against the Bills.
You need a Xavier Worthy jersey to balance this out. Since Maggie is so petrified of him catching important passes for the Chiefs.
Right, because the Chiefs essentially traded with the Bills for Xavier Worthy out of Texas. Yeah, that's a great idea. Xavier Worthy, I just keep playing him up. But she's going to be giving me Keon Coleman. And also, somebody's going to catch these Josh Allen passes. He could have 1,000 yards. Because Josh Allen is going to throw for 4,000 yards. So who else is there? Khalil Shakir.
Curtis Samuel.
Curtis Samuel, who has never been consistent. KJ Hamler somewhere. He's never gotten on the field. So Keon Coleman's probably going to be good. I would draft him in fantasy. All right. Thank you, Andrew Bogus.
Yeah.
Let's switch gears and talk more football. EJ and I have a sneaky division that could really emerge as a factor in the NFL. That's next. Maggie and Perloff Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Back on Maggie and Perloff. So usually Maggie does a better job of monitoring the Infinity Sports Network YouTube page because I'm sometimes afraid of the comments.
Bad job.
Yes. So you could go to Infinity Sports Network YouTube page. EJ is wearing, I don't know how to describe this. It's a gold starter jacket with a Knicks on it. It's making me sick to my stomach because the Knicks knocked out my Sixers last night. I had everything working for me. Bradley Cooper was wearing the same exact jacket except a Sixers version, and it was so cool. I kind of want one of these, but I have so much Sixers gear. I was thinking about, should I have worn it in today? Because it's the last opportunity until next fall.
If you would have came in here in Sixers gear, the amount, I don't know if I would have been able to get to the set to do the show. I would have been laughing so hard. Like I feel like I've been pretty cordial, despite the fact that I have all of the reasons to talk as much crap as I want today. I feel like I've been pretty cordial. If you showed up in what you have, by the way, I think you have a really great Sixers wardrobe. Every Sixers thing you wear is sick. If you came in any of them fly outfits for Sixers with Sixers gear on it, I would have been laughing so hard. They would have had to get someone else to do the show.
Oh, no, you're so off base, man. All right, Perloff, if you would have came in with Sixers gear, I would have applauded you. That's the most impressive way to express your fandom is to wear your stuff after your team loses. When the Cubs got knocked out of that 0-3 series against the Marlins, I was in full Cubs regalia the day after. My face was red from tears, but I was still wearing my stuff because that's when you know the real fandom comes out. And anyone could be a fair weather fan. It takes a real fan to wear the gear after your team sucks.
Also, I don't have that many clothes, so basically all the Sixer stuff goes in the closet for 4 months.
I mean, it would have been
my last chance.
If you would have wore that Iverson sweater again, second day in a row, we might have raised some eyebrows.
I was going to say, did you go to laundry yesterday?
I didn't know what to do on social media last night because I actually have this weird little Twitter beef thing going back and forth with Jerry Ferrara, Turtle from Entourage, who actually has a Twitter beef going on with everybody about the Knicks.
Yeah, I know.
He's fighting with everyone I know. So I didn't know whether to be gracious. I was going to send out a tweet like, great job, Knicks. I'm pulling for you in the next rounder. Or say something bitter like, if Joel Embiid was healthy, Sixers win in 6. I have no idea how to play it as what is the best way to play it with your friends when your team loses?
I think the best thing, especially on social, is to just lay low. I think what you're doing right now is the right move. Because, one, Jerry is great. But he will quote tweet and put your stuff out there for you being a Sixers fan. And while he may be gracious back to you, those comments and folks like me will not be gracious in the comments. So you're going to be getting notifications of just like Joel Embiid crying faces and, I don't know, weird Nick Nurse gifs. Like, if you don't want to see any of that, maybe just lay low for a couple of weeks. And then maybe in a week or so when the Knicks, they're knock on wood, it doesn't happen. But if they go out, then maybe say something snarky then. But right now, just lay low.
Well, actually, I don't really hate the Knicks. I mean, they're basically Villanova North. They have some of my favorite players from Philly.
The king of Philly right now is Jalen Brunson.
I don't know about that. But
definitely king of Wells Fargo.
It's also the other thing, too, is the Knicks are not a scary rival. They're a cute little team that may or may not win some games in the Eastern Conference.
You hear this, EJ?
They're just like they're like the little JV team that's playing in the varsity right now. This is not
little
JV
team.
Look at that team they're putting out there.
Second seed, EJ. Can you
look at that team that they're putting out there? Like I can't. If the Celtics had knocked out the Sixers, I would have had a problem because the Celtics are going on to the NBA Finals. I can't really lose sleep over this Knicks team. They happen to take advantage of an injured Joel Embiid and win.
But this was the matchup they wanted.
Yes,
they didn't want the Celtics.
And it was also the matchup that people said the Knicks shouldn't want. They kept saying the Knicks should actually throw games at the end of the season to avoid this matchup that was supposed to be so tough. And
how'd it work out for the Knicks, EJ?
Worked pretty well.
And now, by the way, this is where it gets obnoxious because the Knicks face a sort of young, untested in the playoffs Indiana Pacers team, which they actually struggled a little bit. They lost the game to Bobby Portis when the Bucks backups the other day.
Yeah.
I have no idea how good the Pacers are. At the All-Star break, which was in Indianapolis this year, Tyrese Halliburton stepped up. He was the face of the NBA for 2 weeks. And then he sort of took a backseat the second half of the year. But does anyone understand who these Pacers are? I think that's an interesting mystery.
Yeah, the Pacers are weird because nobody really knows who they are in terms of like the casual fan. And I don't mean that facetiously, just like the casual sports fan who's probably just learning about them. They don't play a lot on national TV. They're an extremely exciting team because of how they play. I mean, they score 130, 140 points. They don't play a lick of defense. It's definitely one of those like, battle of styles or style make fights kind of deal where you got the immovable force versus the unbreakable object, or however that euphemism goes. You got the Knicks that are going to be rough and tumble team, and the Pacers were this finesse team. We're going to learn a lot about them. I think Halliburton is a guy that could be, when we talk about faces of the NBA, I don't say he's the face, but he could be a guy that does become one of those marketable stars.
You mean two voices?
Remember, Maggie Manny's talking about a couple of days ago, he somehow did a press conference in two different voices.
That was weird.
That was weird.
It's so weird.
Yeah, but it will be a fun series.
A lot of history there.
Yes,
goes
sure.
back to '90s. Which I don't know. It's a good thing. The way the NBA is playing lately, it looks more like the '90s. Yeah, I'm not sure the Pacers are going to sort of catch America's attention. We'll see. This series was great. Sixers, Knicks. Give us a call, 855-212-4227. Did Joel Embiid blow the series? Coming up next, oh boy, I don't want to guarantee it, but a team I think is probably going to go to the Super Bowl. This is the Maggie and Perloff Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
It's Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
All right, welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. Maggie's out. EJ Stewart is sitting in. EJ, you know I love a trade rumor. And around the NFL draft, we're getting a lot of trade rumors coming out of San Francisco. First, that they were going to trade wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk, who has to get paid very soon. Then it quickly shifted to they're going to have to trade wide receiver / running back Deebo Samuel. Well, maybe none of that is happening according to the San Francisco 49ers brass. This is John Lynch. Or maybe this is not John Lynch. Hold on. This is Lynch who was talking about Aiyuk and Deebo yesterday, right?
I love our roster. I love the way it's comprised. As I said, we were right there, and we got to find a way to get just a little bit better. And I'm doing everything in my power to keep our roster together, and that's my goal. And I don't question that. I've got so much belief. When you talk about guys like Brandon Aiyuk and Deebo, they're guys we drafted. They're guys we take a lot of pride in what they've become, who they've become, and we couldn't be more proud of those guys. And so, you know, during the course of drafts and off seasons, do conversations happen? Absolutely, they do. We're past that now, and you know, we're thrilled to add to that group.
So now San Francisco has an interesting position. They're all in. I thought that they were maybe going to trade one of their wide receivers. If they don't, then this is sort of a lot of pressure win now. They've been so close under Kyle Shanahan. Of course, lost to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl in 19 and then lost in overtime. Last year in the Vegas Super Bowl, the Chiefs, this is no excuse now. If they have all their older guys, eventually they're going to have to pay Brock Purdy and break apart this team. I think last year the huge disappointment to me was the defense under coordinator Steve Wilks. It went from probably the most ferocious defense in the league to a team that you could just gash. So now they go to Nick Sorensen's taking over as defensive coordinator, an internal candidate. If that defense can come back to being dominant, they fell from 1 to 8 last year. They improved to a top 5 defense. I feel very certain the Niners are going back to the Super Bowl. I know I'm not doing my official pick now. It's early May, but it really feels like it's their conference.
My instinct tells me this is kind of a last dance vibes for the Niners, that it won't go well. It'll go kind of like how Maggie's Warriors last dance vibes went this year.
No.
And I'm not saying they won't make the playoffs or anything like that, but I'm just saying in terms of the expectation that they are the prohibitive favorites to get back to the Super Bowl and that they may actually break through. I don't think that happens. Right now, that's not how I'm feeling, because there's been kind of a kumbaya, for the most part, vibe with the Niners, which is kind of surprising because they have faced a lot of adversity. You had, Jimmy Garoppolo kind of being whatever he was, not sure if he was the guy. You threw in Brock Purdy. Is he real? Is he not? They had a serious elbow injury. They've actually somehow overcome a lot, and yet the vibes have always felt very chill. I don't know if it's that Bay Area kind of chill, California chill that happens, but everything's been very kumbaya. They've been able to keep Deebo Samuel relatively happy. They paid him a lot of money. I think that all ends this year. I think that Brock Purdy comes into a contract year with a lot of expectations. Mm-hmm. I think Deebo Samuel comes into a season probably a little PO'd that, quite frankly, seemed like they were trying to give him away. And I think that Brandon Aiyuk is not going to be told, hey, go out there and play on a 1-year deal and go earn it, basically, a big contract extension. And it may not even be from us because how they're going to pay him. I think that the chemistry is going to be off. And I think there is a level to, like, a team has a certain number of years to be a contender before their time kind of runs out. Mm-hmm. I get the feeling that time may have already run out on the Niners, and that as a team on paper they look fine, but a lot of that was because they were a team. They were together and unified. I think this is an offense that won't be humming the way it has, I think, because of some of these perfect storm things happening. One receiver almost got traded, another one's waiting for a contract and almost got traded, and Brock Purdy's trying to get paid. I just think there's too many weird wild card things happening for the Niners to overcome all that again and get back to the Super Bowl.
So, first of all, Brock Purdy's not really in a contract year. He's gone through 2 years. They have 4 years of control for former Mr. Irrelevant. Apparently put on 20 pounds of muscle. I think he's still underrated as an NFL quarterback. I think people thought that was cute last year, but he's not that. I think that dude sees the field really well. He's shockingly mobile. He moves around and makes plays. I'm into Brock Purdy. This depth chart it's insane. I mean, they added Ricky Pearsall, first-round wide receiver, so when Deebo gets hurt a little bit, they won't be in total disarray like what happened last year. I admit, the Aiyuk contract's a problem, but if he sucks it up and says, hey, I have a chance to win a Super Bowl here and then go get paid, if they get past that, I think they're going to be fine because everyone forgot about their defense. I mean, they have Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, surefire Hall of Famers.
And Hufanga will be back this
year. They have Hufanga, the safety, was a huge loss last year. They really should be very, very good at all levels. And maybe there's a couple offenses that are better, including one in Detroit, which is maybe a problem for San Francisco. But you have Christian McCaffrey. You have George Kittle. You have 2 Pro Bowl level wide receivers. I just don't see what this team is missing. And they have depth, too. They have the ability to lose a guy or two and still have guys come in because they can always find a running game when McCaffrey gets hurt. He's a huge part of this, but bring in Elijah Mitchell for a little bit. And now they have Ricky Pearsall can fill in when one of the other receivers gets nicked up.
I think some of that depth is fake depth because think about it. When did this Niners season turn last year and during the regular season?
When Deebo and Trent Williams got hurt.
Exactly. So I think the team had so much success over the last 2 years because Christian McCaffrey has been way more healthy than he's been prior to joining San Francisco. It's been a miracle. Like I don't know if they have a great medical staff. He was a guy that couldn't play 8 games in the season, seemed like for a couple of years, and now he's been playing games. Some of the seasons he was playing a little banged up, but everybody's a little banged up. Last year he was pretty much healthy for most of the year. I'm not betting that health is going to be the same for Christian. I'm not betting that Trent Williams, Deebo Samuel, some of those other guys are going to be more healthy than they've been. You don't, as Charles Barkley says, you don't get more healthy as you get older. You just get rested. You know? So this idea that they have a fresh off season, they'll be back and they'll be stronger. No, they're just rested. Those guys have battle scars. They're going to be with them for the rest of their lives. So I don't expect these guys to be as healthy as they were last year. And there's an aspect of being the hunted. They have a lot of talent, but this NFC is fierce.
Get out of here.
I know you've been saying that this week.
It's so inferior to the AFC.
It's fierce because we'll talk about. We didn't get to talk about the North, but we will get to it maybe later in the show. But you got the Lions, who should have smoked them last year. They should have smoked them.
They're legit, but the Niners defense is a mess.
You got the Packers, who also should have smoked them last year. Again, should have smoked them last year. And then both of those games were at home. We're assuming that the Niners are going to get home field.
A depleted Niners team used to beat the Packers with Aaron Rodgers. So you think this team is going to follow the Packers?
They should have lost to them last season.
All right, who else?
We got I like the Atlanta Falcons. I'm still Atlanta Falcons guy.
Now this conversation is off the
rails.
rails.
What do you mean?
You're telling me a team with Kyle Shanahan, the head coach, and Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Trent Williams, they're scared of the Atlanta Falcons?
Anybody can lose in the playoffs. We've seen
not to the Atlanta Falcons because unless the Dirty Bird is coming back or Jamal Anderson, nobody loses to Atlanta in the playoffs. That doesn't happen.
Well, Matt Ryan did get them to the Super Bowl once. Now they blew. Blew a very, very big lead against the GOAT Tom Brady.
Lead, one would say.
Yeah, 28-3. Sorry, Atlanta. But I mean, Atlanta has done a couple of things every now and then. But no, I'm very high on the Falcons. So I think the Falcons are a team that I think is dangerous. I think that the Rams are dangerous. I think they're a team that's kind of been completely forgotten. Now, losing Aaron Donald is massive. I think that it's kind of somehow become an underrated story or under the radar story.
You're right. People don't talk about that, but it is a factor.
Yeah, it's a huge factor. But and they lost Raheem Morris, who's been the architect of the defense that was really good last year and really good the last few years. But they still have Matt Stafford, and McVay was saying this week that he's very excited for Stafford still. Stafford, I'll tell you what, I know me and you've argued about how good Stafford is, and I'll tell you what, he scared me during that Lions game.
Guy can play.
He was slinging the rock. I was like, man, I might have to take back some of this Matt Stafford slander. He can still play. I know if he takes one bad hit, he'd be out for 4 weeks, but I think that there are dangerous teams. I think
wait. What is going on here? Did you guys notice what he just did there? He listed the dangerous NFC teams. He just listed. He said Atlanta, the LA Rams, the Packers, and the Lions. Are you forgetting a certain city that is 100 miles south of where we're sitting right now?
No, but he's doing the right thing by not mentioning them.
I mean, there are three.
Philadelphia Eagles, yeah.
The Vegas has 3 teams in the NFC. They have the Niners as the heavy favorite, then the Lions and the Eagles. I mean, the Eagles are obviously in this mix.
Yeah, the Eagles are definitely in the mix. I'm just the Eagles. I'm just pausing on because. Again, I talk about
Atlanta's Atlanta's looming.
No, the reason why I'm pausing on them is the same reason I'm actually, not saying that the Niners are the team that's going to get to the Super Bowl is because again, teams have a certain window to get it done, and they gave AJ Brown all this money, even though he was kind of being a wild man for like 3 or 4 months. I'm like, okay, you kind of co-signed the way he's been acting for 3 months. I didn't know if that was the smartest idea. I really like Jalen Hurts. I'm worried that he can't be the mobile quarterback he's needed to beat a team like the Niners in big games. So
because he's hurt. Well, last year he had a knee brace on for most of the season.
Right. And then again, if you're gonna play a running style of quarterback, which he can throw the ball to, I'm not at all saying he's a running back. But if you're gonna play a dual threat kind of style the way he is, you're gonna put your body at risk. And he's big, but he's not Josh Allen big. And he's a guy that's been susceptible to injury. So
he's also been susceptible to getting a $150 million contract to deciding I'm not going to run anymore. We'll see. We'll see if his mind changes on that one.
Yeah.
But you have I understand all your arguments, but you're just looking at talent. Here's the thing: the Niners have all that talent, and they have Kyle Shanahan, who is inarguably the best offensive coach in the NFL. Maybe McVay, so maybe there is an argument. But Shanahan has done so much more with less. If they bring back both these receivers, Aiyuk and Samuel. I mean, that is formidable, EJ. You can't ignore that level of talent.
Kyle Shanahan's a great play caller. I'm not going to say great head coach, because we've seen these flops in big playoff games and Super Bowls. But what I will say about Kyle Shanahan, it goes back to John Lynch, it goes back to my original point. Some of these guys, especially Aiyuk and Samuel, they might be looking at Kyle Shanahan a little funny in the light. Because, yes, Kyle Shanahan has put those guys in great positions. Deebo Samuel was able to make a lot of money because of what Kyle Shanahan did. But they just are coming off an offseason where the brass decided that those 2 guys were expendable. At the very least, they were willing to shop them and see what they could get for them. I think that, and you always say wide receivers are divas and they're malcontents at heart.
Deebo.
I don't know if, and Deebo kind of does fall in that line. I don't know if I would say they're malcontents at heart, but I do think that, again, this kumbaya atmosphere that Kyle Shanahan has done such a fabulous job of creating. I love listening to Kyle Shanahan press conferences. He's one of the few coaches I actually like listening to, because the way he actually galvanizes his team week to week, and the messaging is very clear, and I think it does make a difference. But I think there's a time where your message starts to get stale, and they came off a Super Bowl where a lot of folks, they may not say it, but there are folks in that locker room look at him saying, "Did he know the rules? Why did we not take the ball? Like, what was going on?" And then he wants to get rid of me. I'm the problem. The defensive coordinator is the problem. Like, I don't know if Kyle Shanahan, as much of as an asset he is as a play caller, I wonder as a leader of men how much of an asset he is this season. He's been a great asset up until this season. I'm the 49ers. They're a weird, great contender where I am super fascinated to watch. I think there may be a downfall coming that nobody's expecting.
All that stuff you're talking about, the locker room chemistry and Kyle Shanahan. These guys are playing for contracts. They do not. There's no way.
I think
guys like Nick Bosa, you think he cares what the locker room chemistry is?
Yes, because
he's like, I'm gonna say hike and I'm gonna kill your quarterback.
You know why?
That's all he does.
You know why it matters? Because every time they see the Dallas Cowboys, they want to murder them. Because Kyle Shanahan, who grew up hating the Cowboys, has made it an emphasis to say, hey, when we see that star, it's on sight. It's war. And they have handled the Dallas Cowboys in big moments, and those players have talked about. Kyle Shanahan is showing us clips from the 90s talking about how great this rivalry is. And Nick Bosa saying, I never want to lose to the Cowboys. Like, Kyle Shanahan, say what you want about his play calling, and yes, he's a great play caller, and that matters more. But what he does to get those guys ready is also a big factor. And I think they'll be different when they look at him and they start wondering, is he the reason why we don't have a Super Bowl?
It's not a high school football movie. It's not Remember the Titans. There are no speed. First of all, players hate Kyle Shanahan. I'm not quite sure what you're talking about. He's not fun to play for. That's what everybody says. He's like the disciplinarian of all coaches.
You think these guys don't like playing for Kyle Shanahan?
I think Kyle Shanahan, I've heard he's a tough. No, I think they like playing for him, but he is tough love.
No,
he is super tough love.
I'm not necessarily he's beloved, but I think that those guys respect him as a leader, and I think that the Super Bowl moment And him trying to trade Aiyuk, or him and Lynch trying to trade Aiyuk and Samuel, may be the moment those players say, does the Emperor have no clothes?
Yeah, but Deebo has always been miserable. He's always said like things should be different. And on defense, explain to me last year, if these guys were all in and Kyle Shanahan was inspiring them, how come you watch it? I've never seen a team where one player is playing at 100 and everyone else is playing at 70. It was Nick Bosa, and the entire, basically 4 blockers were on Nick Bosa. He was still getting to the quarterback, and everybody else was napping. I don't know what the heck the rest of the defense was doing last year. Mm-hmm. So I don't really buy this idea that it just sounds too much like a movie to me. These are incredibly talented players who want to get paid. If you keep them healthy, if you keep McCaffrey and Trent Williams healthy, they're just going to overwhelm with talent. This is a great. I like what you're saying. It's interesting that maybe we're overrating them. Mm-hmm. I can't see this possibly happening because they have not. When they're healthy, they've not gone anywhere for 5 years. They've been knocking. And Kyle Shanahan reminds me more of Andy Reid. Eventually, he is going to get through. It's just going to happen. He's still in his 40s. He has so much time to win a Super Bowl. I think they have a great chance this year. What say you? 855-212-4227. Is this the Niners Super Bowl year? All right, coming up next, we're going to look ahead to next year's NFL draft. Did the possible number 1 overall pick just completely blow it? We'll get into that. EJ Stewart sitting in for Maggie. This is the Maggie and Perloff Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Netflix. Jerry Seinfeld stars in Unfrosted, a film that follows sworn cereal rivals as they race to create a pastry that will change the face of breakfast. A tale of ambition, betrayal, and sugar. Unfrosted is rated PG-13 and premieres today, May 3rd, only on Netflix. Again, Unfrosted is rated PG-13 and is now playing only on Netflix. I admit I will probably check that out. Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff. EJ Stewart sitting in for Maggie, who is off either getting an award or giving a speech. I can't even keep track these days. Yesterday, we got into the Sanders family. Now, Dion and his son Shedeur have been on social media, perhaps bullying guys who Colorado cut. To me, not that huge a deal. I defended Dion. Like, this is what you get with Dion. What do you think you signed up for? Now, Shedeur, I understand you're a quarterback, you're a leader of men, you shouldn't be doing this. But there are so many worse things an NFL draft prospect can do. Honestly, a tweet, that's what we're downgrading this guy for. But apparently Las Vegas is, EJ.
Yes, they are. So Shedeur, before this Twitter spat he had with a former Colorado player that devolved into other players from other schools, and then Dion got involved. Before all this, he was plus 100 odds to be the number 1 overall pick. That then changed to plus 300. So odds got worse for Shedeur to be the number 1 pick after all this happened. Now, look, with Vegas, it could be a thing where it becomes, well, people are talking about it, so let's maybe move in the line because people won't.
Yeah, that's all.
It's probably maybe that's all it is. But I will say this: I don't think that NFL teams saw that and liked what they saw. No, I think I'm not gonna say it's gonna say, oh, you're not gonna draft him. He's gonna be a 2nd round pick because of this. But when we talk about Shedeur Sanders next season, I guarantee you, character will be a conversation for antics like this.
I hear you, and obviously it's not ideal. But the fact that he was plus 100 to be the number 1 overall pick, that is not good odds to bet on. It should be much higher. I mean, there's so much that could happen before next year's draft.
I agree.
And even plus 300 is not good odds. But the thing is, I always hear from people around the NFL, like scouts are looking at different things than the media. Like honestly, like they're digging guys for much worse things than a bad social media post. If Shedeur plays well, I think the NFL is a league that has hired guys who are real, criminals. I'm sorry. Bill Belichick would draft anybody, no matter what they did. So a bad tweet is not going to downgrade. If he comes out and he balls with that team especially, but he doesn't have that much help. Colorado, once again, has a new offense around him. If he can go out there and throw 30 touchdowns, he's got a good arm. He's very athletic. He obviously has the bloodlines for the NFL. I think the NFL will find an excuse to look past anything if he can play well enough.
As we always say, it only takes one team. So you're right. Like one team or multiple teams can look at this and say, it's no big deal. We'll take him. But I do think that this incident with Shedeur the whole problem with it is not necessarily in a vacuum. Oh, he's clapping back at somebody. That's, like you said, this is a generational thing. This is what people do. I think you're worried that this is a projection of how he will handle adversity in the NFL.
Yeah.
Will he become a guy who, when they lose a big game or when he struggles or when an NFL team that he's quarterbacking is on a 2-3 game losing streak, is he going to be going after other players on the NFL? Is he going to be going after fans? Is that going to become a thing that then becomes a distraction from the ultimate goal, which for every team is to win the Super Bowl? That is where I think NFL teams, they're looking at everything. Apparently the Bills they looked at Keon Coleman and thought that was great. He was kind of an oddball. But the NFL teams look at everything. And I think that's where the Shedeur stuff becomes worrisome.
Especially a quarterback.
Yes.
Because after a game.
Come on.
No, but after a game, you know this. After a game, Brady did it the best. He never took credit for winning. He took all the blame for losing.
Yep.
If you don't trust Shedeur Sanders to stand up after a game and not blame his crappy left tackle or somebody for fumbling or the defense giving up 35 points, then can you use the number one pick on him to be the face of your franchise?
Yeah, but Shedeur was sticking up for his dad, who was getting criticized. That's loyalty to me. He was sticking up for Deion Sanders. That's why he got into this whole mess in the first place.
But it's still another football player and talking about how not good the kid was.
But you guys have watched a lot of Shedeur Sanders, who's on TV. Does he strike you as a guy who's not a leader of men or a character problem? I don't get that vibe from him at all. He strikes me as a great dude.
No, he strikes me as a leader for sure. And he does strike me as a guy who's a gamer, a guy I would want in my foxhole, because I saw him get smacked in the face by a defensive lineman for 11, 12 games and still put up pretty good numbers. Like, I know I've been critical of Shedeur, but I don't really question his talent per se. But again, it's not necessarily about that. It becomes, we know in the NFL the going's going to get tough. And at Colorado, things got tough last year. They got off to that 3-0 start, but then they won one game the rest of the year. Things are going to be tough in the NFL as well. And is this how you're going to handle it? Well, there's not one NFL team that would want him to handle adversity the way he's handled it with this incident.
I think every coach, they see Shedeur and be like, whoa, that guy could throw the deep out to the sideline. And look the other. First of all, this draft is not filled with complete quarterbacks. You got Jalen Milroe, who can't really throw at all. You got Quinn Ewers, who has an arm like Manny's over there. All of a sudden has lost his arm strength.
Wow.
I'm just telling you, Shedeur Sanders is going to be the most complete quarterback probably in this class. I think that talent-wise, maybe Carson Beck will be a better prospect, but talent-wise, NFL does not care. You guys think they care about tweets? They don't care.
I think, they cared. They care when they want to care. Yeah. And normally, they will plead ignorance to talent. I get that. But I guess the fear is that Shedeur is going to make it impossible to overlook some of the negative stuff if there's always this unnecessary drama. Like, none of this had to happen. He didn't have. It's sweet that he defended his dad, but he didn't have to defend his dad against a guy that's completely out of their world. Like, he doesn't have to. They don't have to join in every fight. They don't need to speak up. He can just go.
It's a young ones though. That's what they do, right? And EJ, even the generation below you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of how it works these days,
right? And that's not who's making NFL picks,
right? Exactly.
All right, let's go to Rich in Chicago on the phone line. Has a thought on the 25 draft. What do you think, Rich?
Hey, I got two things, Perloff. I got one for you. I was stunned that your Eagles didn't draft any Georgia guys last year.
Yeah, good point. We got them all already. There's no room for more of them.
I was going to say, that's kind of a stunner picking up two Clemson guys. Now you guys are on the Clemson.
Yeah.
So I guess you guys shift teams every year. Now, the reason I brought it up, and I think I mentioned this to you before, about the 2025 mock drafts, and, everybody's got one. But I've seen a couple where the top two are two Georgia guys. A Georgia D lineman as a projected one, and Beck. I don't think Shedeur is even in the. I think he was ranked third behind Ewers and Beck.
Well, yeah, but the Vegas odds, Rich, were Shedeur was tied for. I think he might have been tied for one with Carson Beck as far as who could be the number one overall.
I know that, but do you want to trust them or do you want to trust the mock draft experts? This was from the Athletic. And I don't put a lot of stock in some of these guys, but I do in the Athletic. They've been reasonably accurate over the past 5 years. But here's the one thing, and I think it's going to be a real curveball. And this is something that I talk about, and I have talked about, but many people aren't aware of this. And I want to clear this up because it's misconstrued. There's only in the last since 1974, how many quarterbacks that are true rookies that play year one right after the draft have had a winning season, and that's 47 years.
Wait, how many? So C.J. Stroud, like C.J. Stroud, that kind of thing.
Very rare, I say.
Yeah, that kind of thing. But it's
Big Ben.
Yeah, they got to play though. They got to play their first year. There's some guys that sit a year.
Right.
I mean, you can say, well, Mahomes, he was a rookie in the NFL, but it was his second year. I'm talking come right out of the draft and start. How many do you think there are in the history of the league?
5.
8.
Okay. It's not a big number.
There's 8. So 8 out of 47 years. And the reason I bring that up is being here in Chicago.
Yeah.
I'm not a Caleb Williams guy, and I've kind of chirped in on that a couple of times when they could have had a haul, moved back. I like Jaden Daniels better anyway. So you could have still picked up Daniels, moved back a spot, and made a big haul against Washington or New England, who were dying to get Caleb Williams. They didn't do that. So now you got a rookie quarterback. Yeah. You got a new coordinator in Chicago, and knowing the history of rookie quarterbacks having a winning season, Eberflus and Poles are going to be gone.
Right.
They're just going to be gone. But the bad thing for you is you're not going to be able to draft any Georgia guys.
All right. Thanks, Rich.
Thanks for the call, Rich.
I totally get what you're saying, but Caleb Williams is coming into a 7-10 team with wide receivers galore, so he maybe has a chance to become the 9th.
I get what Rich is saying, but I think there's a major flaw in what Rich is saying.
Yeah.
This is not a normal number 1 pick team. Remember, this is a team that only has the number 1 pick because they made this, now we know, awesome trade with the Carolina Panthers. This is a team that was actually a game away from maybe even being in playoff contention.
Yeah.
So, and they were a game away from maybe even not taking quarterback.
Yeah, they finished the season 7-2.
Right. So this was a team that was playing great football. Typically, rookie quarterbacks, when they're forced to play, they're going into Zach Wilson Jet territory. They're going into Bryce Young Panther territory. They're going into terrible organizations with terrible teams and terrible rosters. That's not what Caleb was walking into.
Well, but he does have Eberflus as a coach. I mean, it's a lot that could go wrong.
And I'm not saying Eberflus is John Madden, but as Carlos said, he did go 7-2 down the stretch. And Eberflus can coach some defense. And when he finally got Montez Sweat, a guy who can rush the passer, all of a sudden the Bears defense that looked terrible for most of the year, all of a sudden turned into the monsters of the midway again. And I don't think that's changing. I think you still got a great corner in Jalen Johnson, and Montez Sweat. He's not going to become worse this year. I think he's going to probably even be better, being more familiar with the system. So I'm very high on the Bears this year.
All right, well, a tough division too. You know what's funny about those look ahead mock drafts? Pro Football Focus put out one, and they had a guy named James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee who was number 1.
Yeah.
He must have had a gigantic grade for them. I've heard a lot of college people react to say James Pierce Jr. number. I mean, obviously, like. Could you watch college football last year and Tennessee defensive edge? Did anybody notice this guy? And so the odds shot up on this guy, James Pierce Jr., who had 9.5 sacks, but literally came out of nowhere. Because I've heard a lot of college football writers say, wait, that guy's a number 1 pick? Because obviously, if you follow the game, Harold Perkins out of LSU is destroying people. He would be the number 1 guy, although I guess there are already like character flags about him. But it's funny how these mock drafts, the odds, these are mock drafts. They're not real.
Yeah.
And the Vegas odds are not real. They don't have anything real to react off of. So Shedeur sends out a bad tweet and his odds fall. But the reality is we are a long way from any kind of reality.
I'll be real. Like, if you are a person that's putting in odds for the draft next year based on mock drafts in April of the previous year or May of the previous year, I think that's very ill-advised.
Well, that being said, everyone did have Caleb 1 and Drake May 2, and Drake May went 3.
But that was a year where it was, to me, it was very clear that those guys were coming in as favorites. This year, it's a crapshoot.
This year's crap. Yeah, I mean, 2 years ago, I think you could have seen Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud as 1, 2. That was predictable as well. This year, you're right. It is. You basically have Carson Beck and Shedeur Sanders, and Carson Beck was there at Georgia last year. And another guy. I don't think the casual fan has much thoughts on Carson Beck.
I can see the value in betting on the individual player to be the number 1 pick, but I saw somebody was a CBS Sports HQ. Somebody yesterday was doing a 2025 mock draft that again requires you to guess how incomplete teams are going to finish, and then this dude had the Giants trading for the number 1 pick take Carson Beck. Just be patient.
I don't want to hear that at all.
I hate these things. The way too early top 25 the morning after the March Madness finale and the next year mock drafts in April of 2024. No, thank you.
I'm the opposite.
No thanks.
I run as soon as the college football and college basketball ends to say, okay, what's the ranking for next year? Give it to me. And I know they're screwed up, especially in college basketball, where you got guys who may be in the NBA, may not be in the NBA.
You said 2,000 guys go in the portal.
Yeah,
and
may transfer, may not transfer.
Up before that.
I know.
I used to get the assignment when I was on the NFL at SI. I did the look ahead mock draft, and I got a lot of credit one year because I put RG3 in the first round.
In the first round?
In the first round, a look ahead when he was at Baylor for a year ahead. I admit I wasn't sure he was going to play quarterback. I had 29. I got a lot of credit for that. I was like, in my head, I'm like, because RG3, no one knew RG3. But then I had Ryan Mallett as my number 1 overall pick, and I have a friend who, every time these come out, I said, hey, where do you have Ryan Mallett on that look at mock draft? I didn't know the dude was on the purple drank. I mean, there's so much you don't know. The funny thing, dude, Jalen Milroe is in a lot of these. He's never taken a snap in Kalen DeBoer's offense. We have no idea what is going to happen with this guy. So how do you project? This is my
point. It is the biggest waste of time. We're not even in season yet.
Yes, I know it is, but I'm totally with EJ. If you want to email me another 2025 mock draft, I will read it immediately. I'll drop everything. I'll ignore my kids to read it.
Right, I mean, so
Why
you
are
could
you such nerds?
You could give me a list of the top 25 players going towards next season.
Okay.
But to give me a mock draft,
you
that
got to trade. It's even better.
Mayhem, just complete throwing you against the wall and see what sticks. Like, no thanks.
Where are the Giants going to have to trade from? I don't understand. To go from 3 to 1?
I guess.
I mean,
Not going to be that bad again.
They might be.
I don't know. All right.
I got bad news for you, buddy.
At least we got the Knicks.
There you go.
Andrew Bogish, updates. What do you got, buddy?
A question for the group. Who was the best player in the NBA playoffs last night, and why was it TJ McConnell?
McConnell spins down the left side. You cannot do it better than that.
It just hangs on the rim and drops. TJ McConnell having himself a night.
Mark Boyle and friends on Pacers Radio. McConnell, 20 points, 9 assists off the bench. Obi Toppin scored 21 as a sub.
Former Knick.
Their Pacers closed out the Bucks in Game 6, 120-98.
TJ McConnell, former Sixer. Did he grow? I was watching him last night. I'm like, he used to be a 5'11" point guard. He looked like the most talented player on the court at times. It was crazy.
Yeah, so he's gone from Duquesne to Arizona to being a very useful NBA player.
Very confident.
Sixers could have used a guy like that.
Oh, shut up.
So could Team USA. Is there a spot open on the Olympic team?
Hey.
You can put him over Jalen Brunson.
We were marking that for JB.
Oh, man. By the way, you know this subplot, Andrew, that he thinks that Tyrese Halliburton should not be on the Olympic roster and Jalen Brunson should be. So this is a huge second-round series, Pacers-Knicks.
Ooh, see, I'm still sticking to the Kawhi has no intentions of going to Paris. He just wanted to be on the team. So that's where Brunson's spot will come from.
Kawhi, you could be definitely right about that, but, let's be real. Kawhi's new. It's a wrap for him, right?
It certainly seems like it.
Like I know. I kind of don't want to go as far as say he should retire because that maybe be too harsh. But he clearly should be like a fourth option, a guy that's like a luxury on the team, not someone you depend on.
Right.
In theory, in Team USA, that's what he would have been. But even to put him on the team was like, come on, that guy's knees is not going to make it.
Now, do you think where's the break in terms of being actually injured and him maybe being overly protective of himself? Like, do you think he could play, or is he legitimately out of these games?
I think he's injured because remember 2 years ago he went out and everybody was like, "Oh, come on, Kawhi, you can't be low managing playoff games." And then guess what? They're like, "Hey, he has a torn ACL."
Right.
Like he has a degenerative knee issue. I think he's not far from like an Amari Stoudemire situation where maybe he can play good for 2 or 3 months and then he's out for 3 months.
Good luck. You're the one who can diagnose Kawhi Leonard. Like the rest of the entire NBA, his team doesn't even know if he's hurt. How would we know if he's hurt?
Because he doesn't go out there on the court, and he missed the whole season basically because of a knee injury. Like I think that he has a major issue, which is why again when they put him on a team, I'm like, he's about to play the most intense basketball he's played in years.
Since the Jack Harlow commercial.
Right. And you actually think that he's going to make it to August?
Well, it's the Olympics. You only have to play 7 minutes a game. That's why I wonder if Kawhi does. And I have no idea what his interests are. Maybe he's super into French food or something.
Yeah.
I know what it is. New Balance to tell him, get your ass over.
Yes, that's a really good point.
So McConnell leads the Pacers to a win, and then Jalen Brunson a pedestrian 41 points and 12 assists as the Knicks took Game 6 in Philly, 118-115 to end that series. Brunson, is the first player since MJ in '89 to finish a playoff series with 3 straight 40-point games. His longtime buddy Josh Hart post-game on MSG TV.
He was making the right plays. We need him to be aggressive. Like I said, he's our engine, and we just got to keep feeding off that.
It was Hart, though, who hit the tie-breaking 3 last night with 24 seconds to go. He had 16 points, 14 rebounds, 7 assists, playing 46 minutes.
I have a really serious question for you guys as a Knicks fan, but it goes beyond Knicks and goes beyond even basketball. Is there any value to putting together a bunch of players who won titles or had a lot of success in college and letting them play together? Because as Perloff mentioned, like the Knicks on paper probably didn't look like a team that still should have beat the Sixers to some people's eyes. Definitely not a team that should be a number 2 seed in a conference. But for whatever reason, there is some kind of synergy between Hart, Brunson, and DiVincenzo that we can't quite get. Hart and DiVincenzo were essentially journeymen before he got to the Knicks, and they've played great. And we know Brunson's turned into the superstar these past 2 seasons. Is there anything to that, whether it be in basketball or any sport?
Well, DiVincenzo has a ring, doesn't he?
He didn't play in the playoffs that year, though.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I think it's a really great philosophy, and probably executives around the NBA are thinking, wow, you know what? If I bring together guys from a championship team, I might win a first-round series whose star is completely injured. What? They just haven't done anything. This you can't give me any format because they've proven
What are you talking about?
What have they done? What has this Knicks team done?
They were a team that were not expected to be the number 2 seed coming into the season, and they've overshot expectations.
The number 2 seed in the East, that's the equivalent of scoring 27 points in a JV game.
And
that
10 games
anything.
off number 1, right?
Yes.
Yeah, a distant second. And the Bucks wet themselves.
But so
Embiid fell
Jalen
apart.
Brunson, Josh Hart, and DiVincenzo didn't play great most of the series, but he killed
they
them last
did.
night. Those guys,
this is not a model,
mauling the Sixers by the way on their former home court at the Wells Fargo Center. You don't think there's any value to them being teammates who have chemistry?
I know there is. I'm just kind of angry.
I'm curious in terms of
but no,
other
like
teams.
I don't think you look at the UConn players and say I got to bring. Maybe you do, but I don't think anyone's going to bring in all the UConn players and have great success because this Knicks team, they kind of feel like a college team. They feel like a Jay Wright, like they're scrappy, they play together, but that has a limit. You need talent.
There's one example that has worked before the Knicks and worked way better than the Knicks. I'm not even trying to be on the Knicks thing right now. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. A lot of people when that draft pick happened said you cannot draft a receiver that high when they have a terrible offensive line. And Joe Burrow basically said, "Get me my guy. Trust me. We're going to make magic happen."
Well,
and they did, and they have.
That's funny you say it because I think Jamar Chase was going to go right around 5-6 in any draft because he was spectacular.
It wasn't that he wasn't going to go top 5 or top 6 or whatever. It was that team, considering the needs that they had, and they had a good receiving core.
Right, they could have gone Penny Sewell. I know what you mean.
Pick. So
which would have been good too.
And Burrow basically pushed the fact that he had played with Chase as the reason why this would work in the NFL. And now they're 2 great talents. So maybe it's not the maybe it's just talent.
Yeah.
But that's an example where they went a certain direction that people thought was a wrong idea, and it's definitely been the right idea.
I think the chemistry matters, but I think Brunson becoming an elite player is what's making this actually work. Not that Hart didn't play with good players before, but I think Brunson becoming this guy is what's making this look so dynamic. Like if Brunson was a good NBA player, things would be significantly different.
And by the way, DiVincenzo and Hart have kind of struggled a little bit shooting this series, which has been surprising to me. I don't know what happened to DiVincenzo before.
He shot well last night, though.
Last night he was good.
Threes.
And Hart will get cold from outside too. But I mean, very cold. Yeah. But no, I actually, on most days, I would really appreciate that point and agree with you. Today, I don't want to hear it. Today, I don't want to hear it.
And I even come bearing like, hey, I'm not even trying to be a Knicks guy here. I just want to have a nice sports conversation. He's like, well, you're just a number 2
Knicks
seed
guy with that jacket.
Yeah, a jacket that even Clyde Frazier thinks is too gaudy. But I don't want to be a Knicks guy.
But then he's like, oh, you're just a number 2 seed in the East. I'm like, I'm trying to have a nice conversation here. Like
New York Knicks.
Come on.
All right. Well, let's take a break. We'll talk more Knicks Sixers coming up, and we'll ask the important question. Are officials ruining the NBA? I think so, and that's why my Sixers are out, but I'm totally going to be objective in this segment. That's next, right here on Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break.
Are you good?
Peter Bellotti, he made a prediction, said that he gonna win. Celtics got no conviction, but now he's hiding, running away, won't own up to his words, can't face the dismay. He thought Miami would rise like the sun in the sky, but now he's got excuses, got no alibi. He thought the Heat had it, it was a sure bet, but they couldn't handle Boston, not just yet. Peter Bellotti, where you at now? You made a bold choice, but where's your wow? Can't stand the heat in the kitchen. Your predictions cold. You're playing hide and seek, leaving us in the fold. You're playing hide and seek.
3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
We're back here on Maggie and Perloff. Sad day in the studio. For one, because Maggie's not here, who lights up the show every morning. But it's not really that. EJ's sitting in. That's fine. It's that my Sixers lost to his Knicks of all the timing. It's terrible. Fun series. Great game last night, but didn't go my way. That's okay. I can live with this. I can't really live with EJ sitting, celebrating, and getting to watch his team moving forward. It hurts.
You know what's so great about this is for days, well, I guess it's been almost more than a week now, Pearl has done a great job of, he says he wasn't trolling, but he was trolling me in like, oh, Knicks are going to win. Sixers got no chance. Whatever. And it took a lot of joy out of this series for me. Thank God Joel Embiid was being dirty and doing goon stuff because it got me back into the series and in the fight that I wanted with Pearl. But he would not engage in that level. So I thought the show behind the scenes was pretty civil, despite this being a very intense series. It was all an act. It's all confirmed because I come in a gold-plated Knicks jacket, celebrate a Knicks win, and Pearl, you look like you got the flu or something. You're pale, you look sick, you look like you haven't slept in 3 or 4 days.
Dunked in your face.
Like, just because the Knicks won and your Sixers are going home and Joel Embiid's in Cancun, now all of a sudden, no fun?
Newsflash, I always look pale and kind of like that. That's what I look like, EJ. But that being said, that was all strategy. I had to downplay the Sixers. It's the only way I could help the team win.
I know.
You know, I was totally downplaying them. I did bet against them. I did an emotional hedge, which I knew I was going to win. All right, let's go to Andy in Pennsylvania. He wants to weigh in on the Knicks Sixers series. Andy, tell me you are on my side and you're hurting today.
Oh, hell no. I am a Knicks fan through and through.
Let's go.
And, yeah.
Well,
so I wanted to talk about the next matchup.
We
finally have a rematch of that 2014 Eastern Conference semifinal. The Pacers are often overlooked because they're in Indiana, but they had the highest scoring season in NBA history. First team to have 10,000 points in the regular season. What do you think the Knicks need to do to win this next series, and what is your series prediction?
All right, appreciate the call, Andy. I'll go to the Knicks fan, EJ. Break down the series by the way, it was 2004. Was that Roy Hibbert and Paul George? I saw them playing the highlights from that yesterday. How do you see it, EJ?
I see this as kind of bizarre because there's a lot of synergy. The Knicks played against a team that had more big names in the first round. That was the Celtics that year. They blew a game 5. They were supposed to win, had to go back on the road, and then got off to a big lead and almost blew it. It's almost identical to what happened to Melo's Knicks back in 2014. I think the Knicks win. And I think some of this goes into the conversation we talked about, or we're going to talk about, which is playoff basketball being so much different than the regular season. The Pacers are, as I said before, a really exciting, fun up-and-down team. But we see right now the NBA is calling the games entirely differently than they did in the regular season, at least for most of the regular season, and not in the normal sense of playoff physical basketball. Like, this has become refereeing akin to the 90s, akin to the early 2000s, where they're allowing guys to get away with a lot of contact. I personally love it, and I think it actually benefits the Knicks in this series because the next team like Indiana is going to not get the calls they're used to getting to. But there's a question maybe larger about whether or not this is actually good for the NBA. I love it, but I know you don't.
Well, here's the thing, and I agree. That's going to have a huge impact on Knicks Pacers. I was watching Game 5 of Clippers-Mavs, and Russell Westbrook came to the hole and missed a layup, was tackled, basically. It might have drawn a flag in the NFL. The officials were like, well, I'm not giving Westbrook anything. No foul. Luka comes down the other side, and Zubac basically touches him, maybe brushes by his hip, 2 shots. It's so inconsistent that you have no idea what they're going to call or what they're not going to. The players don't know. The coaches don't know. Guess who has no idea what they're going to. The officials don't seem to have any idea what the level of physicality is, and it changes every time down. And I'll tell you right now, they gave Joel Embiid a lot of calls. That's one of the reasons the Sixers were still in the series. Whereas different players, they kind of give Brunson calls, and there are other players who they just give nothing to. So,
but guess what, bro?
My issue is the inconsistency, and I think it's really going to hurt the NBA in this play. It's going to be the finals, and somebody's going to get tackled, and they're not going to call it. And I think a lot of people are going to wonder what's happening.
But guess what, Pearl? You'll be the first to say that the 90s in the 80s was a golden age in the NBA.
Yes, because
And
Michael
that-
Jordan. I hated the Knicks and the Heat more than anything. I couldn't stand the way they played.
No, but
Michael Jordan and the Utah Jazz and Seattle were amazing.
Right, but the inconsistency in refereeing also happened back then. Guess what? If you breathed on Michael Jordan, they were calling a foul.
As you should.
But if another guy went down the lane against the New York Knicks and they took 3 or 4 elbows going in and it was no call, it was no harm, no foul. So what you saw in the 90s in terms of how basketball was played and how we look at the overall era and say, hey, we would love to get back to that in terms of the popularity, that is essentially what you're seeing in terms of how the game is being called now, which is why I think this Sixers-Knicks series was so fun. This was by far the most physical series of all the series. This was by far the most chippiest of all the series right now. And that's why we loved it. Like, I think that going forward, we're going to see more of these really intense matchups. Hopefully these other series, whether it's the Nuggets and T-Wolves or whoever the Thunder end up playing, hopefully we get some of that more as well, because I think that's what the fans actually want to see. They're tired of these.
It's not what I want to see. I want to see the Sixers advance. Okay.
So, too bad that ship sailed last night at around 11:30 Eastern.
Maybe next year.
All right, coming up, I got another gift for you. It's a great day for EJ Stewart. What are your favorite comedians? Mark Ellis will be in studio. That's next. Maggie and Perloff Show.
Can't wait.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
It's Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. I don't know why you're playing upbeat music. There's nothing upbeat about today, Friday. It is a miserable day in the sports world. The Philadelphia 76ers, my Philadelphia 76ers, fell to the Knicks. I got to tell you, EJ, I'm a little worried about the process.
Oh, why? The process? Why?
We're 9 years into Joel Embiid in the NBA, and the process has not resulted in a conference final yet. The famed process. Now, here's the reality. If you look forward, they cleared their salary cap so they can bring in a star. I'm not even sure it's worth it because I don't know if Joel Embiid is ever going to be healthy enough to do this. Will they bring in Paul George? Is there any outside chance they get LeBron James actually to come to Philadelphia? After the way they lost last night, feels like the idea that they're going to bring this new dream team to Philly is not happening.
Hey, let me give you some hope here, and I hate to do that because I'm a Knicks fan who's very happy to see your Sixers go home. Some hope I'll give you here. I really think that what you learn from this series is that Joel Embiid's probably not number one.
Number one what?
Number one guy on a championship team.
Dude scored 39 last night on one leg. What are you talking about? Yeah. Oh, a championship team. He's the number one on a team.
Right. Yeah. Again, full sentence.
Yeah.
Number one on a championship team.
How many guys are number one on a championship team?
Very few.
There's Jokic.
Yeah.
Giannis.
Giannis.
LeBron.
LeBron.
Okay.
KD, you could argue maybe. KD's a little questionable. Steph Curry, obviously.
Yeah.
And we're going to learn about some of these guys now. Is Ant-Man, is, Shea, are these guys.
A few years is Wemby. Yep.
Right. We'll learn about these guys. I think you learned something from this series. And you mentioned Joel Embiid being hurt and being on one leg. That's exactly my point. Maybe if the Sixers do get another guy who can be a real closer next to Embiid, there won't be so much pressure on him to score 35 points.
Well, they got that guy.
And to play on one leg and to do all these Superman heroic things unnecessarily. I think that there's a chance that perhaps maybe you guys can build this team in a different way. And all of a sudden we're looking at a Sixer team that if you add a LeBron or you add someone else who maybe in spirit is a number two, when it comes to crunch time is a number one.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but they have Tyrese Maxey could be that too. Part of the problem too is they really have a journeyman team around them. I mean, the process was not designed to have Kelly Oubre be your third best player and have Nick Batum covering the superstar point guard on your other team. It is definitely a weird year, but we'll get more into the Sixers later in the show. I really don't want to, but we have to. So I told you, EJ, that we were bringing in a comedian on Friday, and your reaction, I could have said John Mulaney, I could have said Chappelle, I could have said pretty much anyone. I'm not sure it would match the excitement you had for Mark Ellis, our good friend of the show. Mark, this is the first time, I don't think you've met EJ yet. Of course, you know the Maggie and Perloff show really well. You've been in studio.
Huge fan of the product.
You've been a guest many times, but EJ took over in the fall as executive producer of the show, and he always told me, he's like, when are we getting Mark Ellis on?
Yeah.
It's true. Mark Ellis, successful comedian. You're a huge fan. Always have been.
I have been a huge fan. We have met once. We met at New York Comic Con. I want to say 18-ish. You guys had a panel where I think you were at Collider. I've been a huge fan of the stuff you did with Showdowns and with Collider.
Those were the days, man. I met you with Schnepp, right?
Yes, John Schnepp, R.I.P. To the GOAT. Yes, John Schnepp was there as well. It was amazing, and you were so nice. So you're right. That phone call happened, and Perloff was like, "Hey, we got a guest coming in." And I was like, okay. He's like, it's Mark Ellis. Like, the yell that came out probably was a little ridiculous, maybe in hindsight, to Perloff. But
it's so nice to hear you were nice to people who were, like, successful.
Oh,
you know? Because, like, a lot of my fan base for the last 15 years has been teenagers who, like, found me on YouTube somehow. So now when they come up to me after shows and I see that they're successful, like, I have fans that used to just be, like, snot-nosed kids. Now they're veterinarians. They're executive producers.
Yeah.
So congratulations, EJ, on your huge win last night. I was rooting for the Knicks for the bulk of this series. And then I switched gears last quarter. The last quarter of last night, not just because I was feeling bad for Andrew, but I realized suddenly they had a shot of all the celebrities in the crowd last night, and Joe Gibbs was there. The former coach of the Commanders.
Oh, wow.
I didn't think much about it. I was like, great to see Joe. He's at the game. That's awesome. But then they had like a cutaway to like the F camera of Joel Embiid just standing there after a foul. And in the background, I see sitting courtside Josh Harris, my new owner of the Washington Commanders. And I remembered he owns the Sixers. So I'm like, okay, I want all the good mojo to go this guy's way. So I started rooting for the Sixers, which is probably why they ended up losing.
Wait, let me just backtrack here for a second. You are nice to people at conventions and after shows.
I'm a sweetheart, Andrew.
Because they might be veterinarians. It's like
they might eventually
they
be
might
vets.
have huge success, and your mind went to veterinarians.
I had this happen like a month ago. I had a woman. I got off stage in Vegas. She came up to me. She's a huge fan. I talk about my sweet dog Molly. She's a Beagle Boston Terrier. She turns 17 next week. So I have a bit about Molly having a little bit of arthritis. The vet comes up to me, says there's this new miracle treatment that they started prescribing, and so now Molly is walking around better than she has in 3 years, because Daddy's a comedian.
So be nice to kids, because you never know when they might become a vet. That is. Let me do a full introduction. Mark Ellis, Comedy Central, lead host of Rotten Tomatoes. You're doing shows at New York Comedy Club and the East Village last night and tonight. I know you and your team of comedians. You were at the same group last year, right?
Yeah, man. I bring the heavy hitters. Kyle Lewis, Jen Sturger, Vince Chang hosting, Corinne Fisher popping in tonight. It's going to be a great time, and it starts at 6 p.m. We got earlier show times this time around, and I kind of love it. I kind of love it.
Okay, that is totally awesome.
Still daylight outside.
Talking about comedy, we've been promoting this Netflix documentary about Jerry Seinfeld and Unfrosted. So Seinfeld, doing a publicity tour, got into some hot water. I will say it. He basically complained that you can't do comedy anymore because you have to be too PC, and there's no Cheers, there's no Seinfeld. Do you agree with him that it is hard to do mainstream comedy right now?
I don't think you're ever going to get another Cheers or another Seinfeld like that, because those shows came out at a time when we still looked to just network TV to provide the majority of our yucks at home, right? And that's why I don't think you're going to get a lot of studio audience sitcoms going forward either. It was just a moment in time when everybody paid attention to the same thing. Now I think the culture we're in, fandom is so much more splintered than it used to be, and people just have easy access to find what they want. I mean, that's probably how EJ found me 5-10 years ago, is instead of turning the TV on and watching a sitcom like we all did and gave Cheers and Seinfeld 20, 30, 40 million viewers a week, now you just find the thing that you're interested in. And so I don't think that anybody's ever going to see those kind of numbers again, right? Or have those kind of moments. You still get them occasionally when a show hits streaming. Like when Stranger Things hit on Netflix, everybody was talking about Stranger Things for that weekend. And then you go away and you do something else and you binge something else. So the way we watch stuff, the way we consume stuff is different. As far as stand-up being impossible to do or comedy being hard to pull off, I've never bought into that. I just think you have to adapt with the times. But like Jerry, I agree. Stand-up is always going to be the bread and butter. I mean, that's always just the most basic, bare bones microphone. Can you make people laugh? So that's what I love about our art form, is that other things can continue to evolve and change, but the purity of stand-up is always going to be there.
You mentioned, Mark, how I found you on the internet, and a lot of other young people are finding comedians on the internet, whether they be comedians doing commentary like you were doing on movies or just comedy in general. Do you think that there's a shift now in terms of how to be successful in comedy? Like before, I think you just hit all the clubs, which you're already doing already. You hit all the clubs and you got recognized, and then somebody signed you. But now it almost feels like the audience really can push somebody through followers on Instagram and pushing their videos on social media. I guess how much has that changed maybe in the last 5 to 10 years? Have you really seen that firsthand.
I have. It's gotten a lot harder. Because you have to learn, what TikTok is. You have to learn how to maneuver all that stuff. So I'm a little lucky in the sense that I came about in the social media age, in the YouTube age, but I was kind of there at the forefront when all this stuff was the Wild West. And so I kind of got grandfathered in where people know who I was before TikTok, which thank God, because it's so hard to build a following from scratch. But that's what you see a lot of young comics doing is you see them like putting stuff up online way before people in my generation would have done it. Like, we wanted to wait till something was polished, till it was TV ready, and now you just see a bunch of crowd work clips, and that's sort of the way that people find folks now. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's not better or worse. It's just that's the way we are, and you have to adapt to that model, or else you're going to be left out in the cold.
Talking to Mark Ellis. We're going to get into sports in a second. You know sports really well, not just comedy. I've asked you this before. Right now, who is the number one at the top of the power rankings in the comedy world, the stand-up comedy world?
You're very kind. I know sports much better than I know stand-up comedy.
Honestly, like if you follow you on social, you are definitely into it, in sports, that is. But
I
who's
love
number
the
one
athletics,
right now?
but number one, I think power rankings. Chappelle's always going to be there. Rock is having a nice, if you want to call it a resurgence. He's always been my favorite comic, and he's always been at the forefront. But he's had a great run the last couple of years. Now Jerry Seinfeld back in the news, making Unfrosted, the Pop-Tarts biopic. So I would say right now, still the guy who I look to as like, what is this guy doing? How is he setting trends? It would either be Bill Burr or Dave Chappelle at this moment in time.
So is Comedy Store one of your home bases? Is it called
that's my home. I used to work there. They hire young comedians to do all the jobs. So I parked the cars, I cleaned up the puke, I sold the tickets, and now they let me tell the jokes.
Who's the guy who walks in and does a surprise set that everyone goes nuts for there?
So recently, actually, your boy Sandler has came in a couple times to the which congratulations as the scout of the 76ers, putting together a pretty good team. He's popped into the belly room a couple times, and he's the one guy who I've never met in person. Like, I've met pretty much every comic, and we've been on the same show sometimes, been at the same club that night, just ships passing in the night, and I've never actually seen him in the flesh. So he's the guy.
And so he's popped in nights you haven't been there.
Popped in a couple nights recently that I was on the road, so I always miss it. If I'm not at the Comedy Store, you should go because Adam Sandler's probably going to be there that night.
Oh my God! And I think I know he's. I've seen him tour, and it's awesome.
Yeah, he's working on new stuff.
Yeah, I think that last Netflix special was amazing. And you're right, he found Anthony Edwards. We were just talking about the fact that he put Anthony Edwards in Hustle before everyone else knew about him. I did, as you know, I was in the movie Hustle. Afterwards,
they built the cast around you, as I understand.
Yes.
They had to lock you down. Then they started building pieces. You were their Iron Man.
Do you want me to do the line?
Andrew, you got to see this Anthony Edwards kid play. It's the most amazing thing I ever saw.
So I did my line. It took 27 takes, no big deal. And then afterwards, Sandman pulls me aside. He goes, I got to be honest with you. Watch out for the T-Wolves. I'm like, you're not going to talk about my performance as an actor? He immediately broke down the Western Conference standings. He's so into basketball.
We're so into sports. That's what comics do. When we're not on stage, we just have sports on all the time. Like, it's a nice distraction, but it also, like, I'd love for there to be a way to like make stand-up competitive or to like trace your stats. Back when I used to work at the Comedy Store, I was working the cover booth. Ari Shaffir and we had a night where Ari was going on stage, and we wanted to keep like stats. And so I'm like, all right, go up. I'm going to try to keep like track of how many laughs you get, how many guffaws, how many applause breaks. And like, I lost. I couldn't figure it out. By like minute 3, I was like, I got nothing. This is too hard. You cannot do a box score for stand-up.
I have one question about, we talked earlier, and we talked to Mark Ellis, comedian. We were talking about the internet, influence on comedy. I heard Kevin Hart say something I thought very interesting, or actually it was Drewski talking a story about Kevin Hart, where he saw Kevin Hart and he said, hey, like, you're doing great with your internet skits and you're doing great stuff with like the stuff you're posting on social, but be a real comedian and go on a live stage and do stand-up. Like, that's your next thing. Like, you doing this is actually stymieing your growth as a comedian. Do you buy that like doing the skits is kind of lowbrow or not necessarily really fleshing out your talents as a comedian? Or do you feel like these people now that have become megastars, basically being a skit, comedian on social media, that is indeed kind of where things are going?
Well, now you just have to learn 2 crafts because we're doing the same thing. People who are established on stage as stand-up comics, we're sitting on our phones learning how to make these little movies and learning how to put captions in them and stuff. Meanwhile, a new generation is already getting a following from TikTok or Instagram or whatever because they put up funny vids that people like. Now they have to learn how to be funny in front of actual human beings. So we already knew that. and then you try to like come to an audience. Now the audience already knows who you are, so it's a lot of pressure on somebody who has never been on stage to now be able to like sell out a theater and have to go up and have a whole show based around them. Like I would not want that. I'm glad that I got my training wheels taken care of when nobody was paying attention to me. Nobody knew who I was, just bouncing around town hoping to get stage time, because that's how you get good performing in front of real live people.
Okay, so you mentioned Joe Gibbs was in the crowd. EJ just mentioned Kevin Hart, who's a Sixers fan from Philadelphia.
3 Super Bowls, 3 different quarterbacks, 3 different running backs, 3 different defenses.
Oh, Joe Gibbs. No, I wasn't. It wasn't not a Joe Gibbs question. It was not a...
I'm just saying. Keep in the conversation.
So, which city has the best celebrity fan base? Now, you're in L.A. I know you probably watched the Knicks in this series, have famous celebrity fans. Philly had Bradley Cooper in the crowd. I know you're a Washington fan, but I don't even know who the celebrity fans are there. So give me, is LA the best celebrity fan town, or are those people all phonies who just want to get into the building?
The only thing we have as far as DC sports, I'll defend my hometown, is one time Tom Cruise came to a game and sat in Dan Snyder's box. But I think it was when Tom Cruise was making his own production company. He was probably asking Danny for a handout. So Tom Cruise was there one time.
Tom Cruise at Dan Snyder's booth is the best you got? That's all kinds of bad.
The Knicks fans are obviously more passionate. Those celebrities care more, I think, than the Lakers fans, than the Lakers celebrity fans do. But what's great as a comic to watch Madison Square Garden when it's the playoffs is at least half, if not all, the celebrities they put on camera are comedians. Yeah. So like Tyrese Maxey hit that huge 3 in Game 5, and they cut away, and right as they're cutting away, you just saw Jon Stewart just aghast. Like, I can't believe this just happened. Rock's right there. Ben Stiller was right there. Comedic actors.
You don't even have to be an A-lister. I see Sam Morril high-fiving John Starks on camera every time. It's if you're a loyal Knicks fan comedian, you get I often get front row seats through my good friend Dr. Rock Positano. Took EJ once. It's amazing. I'll take you once, Mark.
I'm in, man.
Yeah,
it could be preseason.
There's a whole row of rappers and comedians.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
It's great. What I really feel bad for is when they show like a shot of like, it's like, look, Chris Rock's at the game, but you also see like 3 of his famous buddies next to him, and they don't highlight them. It's like they're nobody. It's like, no, those are famous people too.
Yeah, well, you see Chris Rock talking about it. So you know what? I don't want to do Knicks Sixers. I want to change the subject. We're gonna have you hang around, Mark. You are also work for Rotten Tomatoes and are a true cinephile. You are a movie guy. EJ thinks he's a movie guy because he's mastered one corner of the movie world. And I generally think of myself as a movie guy. So we have a quiz. We have a quiz that is going to hit all of our specialties, and we're going to find out right here on the Maggie Perloff Show who is the true movie expert between comedian Mark Ellis, EJ Stewart, and Andrew Perloff. Stay tuned. It's going to be some serious competition.
It's a good build. I'm excited.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
We're back on the Maggie and Perloff show. Comedian Mark Ellis, you know from Comedy Central, lead host at Rotten Tomatoes, performing at the New York Comedy Club, East Village tonight, 6 p.m., is joining us, good friend of the show. Mark, you're a movie guy. You really are a movie guy. You seem to go to a lot of premieres. You seem to...
love the talking pictures. I love the movies.
All right. And you also are an expert. EJ is Mr. Marvel. He knows Marvel like the back of his hand. And I would call myself a generalist. I like a good rom-com. I like a good sci-fi. Don't love horror, but pretty much everything else, I am all in.
And I saw Maggie is trying to get into the MCU as well. So that was exciting.
No,
she was watching
sad.
Civil War.
No,
and I was
know.
proud
We
of her.
forced her. She lost a bet.
Yeah.
She did not do it. No. Maggie likes 80s comedy sequels. That's her. That's
She's
her
a
jam.
Teen
Weekend at
Wolf 2
Bernie's
gal.
2, Teen Wolf 2, Caddyshack 2. Yeah, she's got the most bizarre. Basically, Maggie's movie taste was formed at 8 years old, and what was ever running on cable then she's like, that is funny.
How dare you?
It's actually, she will not argue with me. I don't think she'd mind us saying that. Maggie, of course, is off getting honored somewhere again today.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's her jam.
That's just what she does. She just gets honored.
She gets awards. She gets into Hall of Fame. She gives speeches. We love it. But EJ's sitting in the big chair today, and we're going to test everybody's movie knowledge. Now, Andrew Bogus, I don't know. He is a movie fan. What's your specialty? What kind of movie do you like? What's your top genre?
Oh, that's a tough question. Certainly not Marvel.
Not a Marvel guy.
No, not against it, but certainly not anywhere near an expert on that.
Yeah.
There's a Star Wars section this morning that I might have been okay at handling. So I'm probably more in your general movie area.
What's your favorite movie of all time?
Probably Shawshank.
Okay. Good.
Oh, yeah. So you like movies that are on cable right now. Actually, Shawshank. You turn it on TV. We're watching Shawshank.
You're not kidding that last Saturday, I lost 90 minutes of very needed sleep, so I could not stop watching Shawshank on AMC with commercials. That's a commitment to that movie.
You have to. There's no other way to watch. I've seen Shawshank probably 275 times.
Quickly, my favorite thing on watching movies on cable is how the terrible decision making they make to go to commercials in the movies when you know every beat of the movie. And you're like, wait a minute, why would you go to commercial here? This is the next thing is connected to this scene. You can't just go to a commercial break.
And the people who made the commercial break are looking at us like, you're 3 clicks away from getting to watch this without needing commercials at all. Yet you're too lazy to use your thumb, so take your commercial break when you get it.
Well, you guys ever surf? I actually have cable still for the sports. You surf on a weekend and you're like, oh, okay, Knocked Up's on VH1. I'm going to watch it. 65% of the content is commercials. Every time you go, it's like a Sky Rizzy ad. Anyway.
Well, the window for Shawshank, I think, was 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
On my guide, I'm like, this movie's not this long, but it was just all ads.
Yeah. All right. Jump in. Okay, here's how it's going to work. I'm going to set the rules.
Oh, you are?
Yes.
As a contestant.
As a contestant. We have to buzz in. And since we don't have the budget for actual Jeopardy-style buzzers, you have to say buzz or buzz in.
We say buzz.
Okay. Or you go.
Do you want us to just say our name? Because you may hear 2 buzzing sounds and not know
you can't
which
say
buzzer.
Bogus is going to say your name. He's going to pick the person. Now, when we do these kind of games, Maggie will just blurt out the answer before the actual person asking the questions causes. So Bogus has to call on you, so you can't jump the gun.
Okay.
And I've been in Andrew's shoes before on this show.
Yeah.
I have sympathy for what's about to happen.
Yes.
Because I've been the questioner before.
Yes.
Now I'm the questionee.
Please let me finish my question before buzzing.
That's fair.
Wait. Well, that's always the tricky one. You're saying you can't buzz until the question is
These are
finished?
Jeopardy rules. I got to finish the question, then you've got to jump in. I will ask EJ and Manny to break any confusion with whose buzz
Carlos
was first.
and Manny,
Sorry, my fault.
Do we each get a challenge, and then if that challenge is successful, we get another challenge, and we keep our time out?
Yes. Well, this whole game comes down to who Bogus thinks buzz in for. Oh, go ahead.
And there are 3 categories, and for the sake of even math, there's 4 questions in each category.
Wow.
Star Wars, Marvel, and general movie knowledge.
Yes, I got at least one of those.
So we will begin in that general movie category. This morning's first question is, which animal, I can read, I promise, which animal was killed in Fatal Attraction?
Buzz.
Mark.
That would be a bunny rabbit.
That is correct.
I knew that. I just forgot how we were supposed to buzz in.
On the stove. You forgot your own. You made the rules.
Well, I was expecting you to go.
It's a good show, Perloff. You should listen.
You can't just say buzz. You got to buzz. A new rule. You can't just say buzz. Why? You have to make some form of buzz noise with your mouth.
Oh, wow. You're coming down on my buzz sound effect.
All right.
Mark's
wow.
up 1-0-0.
Did they also kill a rabbit in Fatal Attraction? Wait, is that what the movie you said? Or?
He ain't listening to this show at
Are you
all.
awake?
Oh, okay.
Unbelievable.
From the top in 3, 2, and 1. Up next, Han Solo says the Millennium Falcon made the Kessel Run in less than... That's Mark again.
That'd be under 12 parsecs.
That is correct again. Feel free.
You had the number of parsecs. I knew it was a parsec. You had the number of parsecs.
I'm actually, Andrew, it's under 12 parsecs.
Well, that's why I said it the way it
You got 11.8.
Hey, even I'm looking at you like you're a nerd right now.
What are the names of the 6 Infinity Stones? That sounded like Mark first again, guys?
No, that was EJ.
That
must have been EJ.
All right, see, that's why I need your help.
If it was EJ.
Okay, go, EJ.
So you got the Soul Stone. You got the
Oh, you're letting me down already, man.
Reality Stone. You got the wow, I actually really lost these. I'm off. I don't know.
Okay. Can I steal?
Sure.
I don't know all of them, but I know there's. But there's a time stone, right? Isn't that the one that Doctor Strange has?
You guys are piecing together the gauntlet.
Yeah, there's the. Is it called the purple one? Is it called the Power Stone?
Yes.
Okay.
Hold on.
Wait. Which ones did you do? You already did.
No.
Oh, okay. And then there is the pleasant smell stone.
So you're out.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
right.
The floor is yours if you'd like it.
I got the soul stone. I got the reality stone. I got the time stone. I got the power stone. I got the I got the romancing the stone.
Sharon Stone.
Well, you said there are 5 stones.
No,
Right?
there's
There's
6.
There's 6? Oh.
Yeah.
You are the Joel Embiid of this game.
The quantum zone.
All right, so that's everybody's off on that one.
Yeah.
Mark, you added even less than I did. What do you got? What are the other two?
So it is reality, power, time, and solar correct. The group missed space and mind.
Mind Stone was the one that Vision had.
Yeah, that's in his forehead.
Yeah.
What's the space stone? Who had the space
That's
stone?
the very first stone that they introduced in the MCU.
That's in the Tesseract.
Oh!
That's the one you
believe,
start
right?
with. That's
Nerds.
like Monopoly. You're just starting out with that.
So through 3 questions,
that's Baltic Avenue.
Mark's leading 2-0.
Can I just promise the audience that we will get back to sports because this breaking down the stones, I mean, this is serious nerd territory. Okay.
This is why you guys need me to get questions correct so that we move on. I had 12 parsecs and we were just on to the next question.
What did Zach Galifianakis call the baby in The Hangover? Perloff, please.
Zach Galifianakis was walking around with a baby.
Yeah, what was the baby's name?
Oh, I thought you said what did he call it? He just called it the baby.
He did not.
Ah,
I'm just going to go with like a random adult name like Hank.
Nope.
Did he call it the child?
Nope.
I hate all of you. I hate every single one of you.
Thank you, Carlos. I picked this topical Carlos. He called the baby Carlos.
Oh,
you've
that's
grown
right, He
up.
did call that Carlos. I know, right?
He looks good.
Wow.
Check his collar or something. I'm his dad.
You're like the oldest 15-year-old we've ever seen. With a beard and everything.
Oh, please. We saw what your mom looks like in that movie. You miss Mom. That's yeah. We all miss Mom, too.
Back in the Star Wars category, in which movie did Yoda not appear?
Boo.
EJ.
He did not appear in A New Hope.
That is correct.
Well
All
done.
right.
Well
There you go.
done.
All right.
Didn't appear in Rogue One either, I don't think. But.
Right. I assumed it was
Or Solo,
six.
a Star Wars
Yeah, I
movie,
assumed we were
but
doing the
of
sixth
the
movie.
saga.
Yeah. What superhero movie was the first to be nominated for an Oscar for Best Picture? Well,
I think that might have been me. It was me.
I
Carlos?
actually believe it was Perloff.
That was definitely me. I
Wow.
was buzzing. Is it Black Panther?
It is Black Panther.
Okay.
Now everybody's
On the
officially
scoreboard.
Everyone's on the board. A gentleman's sweep.
The Dark Knight should have been nominated, and the next year the Academy went from 5 to 10.
Shut up, nerd. What's that?
From the Marvel group, what's the name Asgardians have for Earth? Mark, please.
That would be Midgard.
Mm-hmm.
See, I was trying to wait for the question to be asked. I think there was a little early bizzing.
I think I
whatever.
buzzed in, but
That is 3 to 1 to 1.
EJ's playing by the rules.
I know.
Adjusted for inflation, which movie made the most money in domestic box office? Wait, no. There's choices.
sorry.
There's choices. A New Hope, E.T., Gone with the Wind, Sound of Music.
Gone with the Wind.
Correct.
Yep.
Oh,
Well done.
still one.
Yeah, you just for inflation, that thing made like $100 billion. I remember when you could see a picture for a song.
Yeah.
Like what?
It's like Gone with the Wind and Avatar 2 are like the greatest hits ever. Very similar movies. There's
Pretty
a lot
much
of
the same
connections.
theme. Yeah.
Pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
Back to Star Wars. What is Anakin's stepbrother's name?
Whoa! Did you stump Mark Ellis?
What is
Mr.
Anakin's
Star-
stepbrother's name?
No buzzes. Wow.
Wait, so Anakin's stepbrother.
I will recuse myself. I have no idea.
Dorcas
EJ?
Malorcas.
I think I'm gonna pass as well. Stepbrother.
I think it was Larry.
It was not.
Larry Skywalker.
It was
Kenny
not Larry.
Skywalker.
It was. It wasn't Carlos either.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
All right.
Owen Lars.
Oh, is that in like Phantom Menace, I assume?
Yeah,
Uncle Owen.
That would be
Uncle Owen.
his stepbrother because it's Luke's uncle.
Yeah.
Okay. Well done.
That's a good question.
Well done, Andrew. That's a good.
Well done. BuzzFeed.com/Star Wars trivia.
All right, how many more we got, folks?
Let's do in Avengers Endgame. What food is Scott Lang trying to eat when it's blown out of his hand? Perloff.
It is a taco.
It is a taco.
It is a taco. Well done.
We have a tie at the top, 3 apiece for Mark and Perloff, and we have 2 questions remaining.
It's just like Sixers Knicks all over again.
Oh, no.
Who will be Brunson? Who will be Buddy Hield?
We are the New York
Star Wars. Which actor or character, I'll accept either as the correct answer, actor or character has appeared in every Star Wars movie?
Anthony Daniels has C-3PO.
Wow. Should I get 2 points for that?
Oh, wow.
That's a good one.
All right.
R2-D2 hasn't been in everyone?
R2 missed, I think he missed.
Okay.
I think he missed.
Wait, because they went with the other one. They went with the little red droid. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, last question. Perloff has to get it to tie, which would be bad because I don't have an extra question to break said tie. Who founded SWORD? This is a Marvel question. Who founded SWORD, and what does SWORD stand for?
I rank this is my hardest question.
I'll do Biz here.
I know who founded it, but I don't know. What
so founded, we'll do Nick Fury. SWORD stands for.
You know what? I'm going to stop you right here because you're wrong.
Wait.
Really?
Is it? I would have said Peggy Carter, but it's not Peggy Carter, is it?
It's not Peggy Carter.
What is? Okay, I don't know what it says.
Yeah, I will say General Thunderbolt Ross.
According to my Marvel question writer, the answer is Maria Rambo, and it stands for Sentient World Observation and Response Department, which means Mark wins.
Wait, what is
4-3.
what was the thing that Peggy Carter and Captain America like?
Shield.
Shield
is the Earth iteration.
I was in my
Sword is the
idiotic
space one.
was thinking about
Shield, which stands for hit me, EJ.
Strategic Homeland something.
Strategic Homeland Intelligence Enforcement
Division, I believe. I think
Defense.
So you guys understand what's going on here. Maggie Gray in a million years would not let us do 10 minutes of sci-fi. So we had to take our opportunity. We had to jump on it. We had to do these movies. I am so sorry to everyone out there.
There were not enough Mannequin 2 questions.
Yes. Well, or sports for that matter. We're going to do...
Why are you guys such nerds?
We're going to do 1990s NFC East questions, Mark. That would have really been your
I would have
wheelhouse.
crushed it. I'm ready to go. Parcells, Gibbs, Johnson, Buddy. Who you want to talk about?
Give me every member of the Fun Bunch.
The Fun Bunch. So you had Alvin Garrett, you had Charlie Brown, you had Art Monk.
Gary Clark.
And Gary Clark was not in the Fun Bunch. He was in the Posse, which was him, Art Monk, and Ricky Sanders.
Take that,
He wins again.
Got it.
Wow.
Hail to the Commanders.
Mark Ellis. Tell us again where you're performing tonight.
My Jaden Daniels jersey's in the mail once he gets a number. I'm at New York Comedy Club at 6 p.m. It's a stacked lineup of killers, and I'm just honored to get to headline it. Can't wait to see everybody. We had great shows last night. Looking forward to more tonight.
Mark, it is so great to see you. Next time you're in town, make sure you come in. We'll have another quiz where we can show off what nerds we are. Love having you.
Let me know when y'all are in LA. I actually got some reputable New York style pizza places I think is going to impress you East Coasters. So hit me when you guys hit that coast, okay?
Nobody's going to LA for pizza, Mark. That's never. I'm going to go
very
for Scott Lang's tacos. I'll eat in. Anyway, all right. Let's get to some back to sports. Give us some real updates, Andrew Bogus.
This morning would be so much more fun if last night stayed the Buddy Hield game.
Joel holding it out top to Bias. Harris split 2 defenders to the right side. Hield wide open corner 3. It's good. Buddy Hield parking toward the bench. He knocked down a 3.
That's Tom McGinnis on Sixers Radio. Hield reminding us he was on the Sixers with 17 first-half points as Philly turned an early 22-point hole into a 3-point halftime lead. They were up 10 in the third before their season ended 118-115 to the Knicks. Sixers head coach Nick Nurse hanging his hat on the thought that his team could have won 4 of these 6 games instead.
The series probably could have went the exact opposite the way it did, but it didn't. So congratulate them for ending up on the positive side of it.
Accurate statement. You can't argue with it.
This trivia show, this trivia thing we just did could have went the opposite way. I could have had 4 points and Mark could have had 1. But, it's just, it can go either way.
The NBA's reversing. They're looking at the Stones question again to see if EJ actually got all the stuff.
Yeah, I want a 2-minute. I want a 2-minute review on the Stones question.
Just like the NBA's report, it would be completely useless.
It is the Knicks who move on, reaching round 2 in back-to-back years for the first time since 1999 and 2000, which is why their fans are cursing in the streets, burning jerseys, and wearing neon gold jackets to work. Jalen Brunson did his best Tyrese Maxey impersonation last night with 41 points and 12 assists. But what can he do when Tyrese Halliburton's the opposition? He had 17 and 10 assists in the Pacers clincher over the Bucks, 120-98. Game 1 at the Garden is Monday night. Tonight we get
you and dunks in your face.
Game 6 for the Cavs and Magic. And the Mavs and Clippers. Cleveland and Dallas can move on. Cavs center Jared Allen might sit out again with a rib injury. Kawhi Leonard and his knee definitely out again for L.A. Apparently, the Steelers traded for Justin Fields this winter not to be a backup quarterback. Running back Jalen Warren was discussing the NFL's new kickoff return setup on the Not Just Football podcast and let this slip.
Our special teams coordinator was talking about Justin Fields being back there. We're like, hold on. Whoa, you breaking news already? We looked at him like, Justin Fields better be that back there. And, it's, I don't know. I think it's cool.
I think it's not.
No, definitely not.
No, cool. Why is that not cool? You're telling me you're not going to tune in to see Justin Fields return a kick?
If I was Justin Fields and they asked me to be a kick returner, I would demand a trade that very second. Are you kidding me?
Well, he's probably going to be on the bench week 1. Russell Wilson started. You don't think he wants to get in there and carry the ball and do something?
He has been traded because people think he needs more development as a quarterback. Every second he is not studying film, studying the things Russ may actually be doing well, and studying the offense, and instead figuring out how to figure out the new special teams rules is a waste of time for him.
They could have him do like the old like fake play with the return, where like you run one side, then you throw it, Music City Miracle style. But they also the Steelers just signed Cordero Patterson too,
right?
So he's the guy I would have returning the kicks.
But you know who the best kick returner is going to be? He's a Washington Commander. They drafted Luke McCaffrey, and I'm positive, mainly to have him do this return. Former quarterback.
Love where your head's at.
And he's going to be awesome. Third round, and they took him way higher. I think it's to return these kickoffs.
He just started playing non-quarterback positions, so his
2 years
ceiling
as
is
a receiver at Rice. That dude is born to. But Justin Fields, what do you mean he's got to learn the intricacies? What, you catch the ball and you run. What are the intricacies?
We have no idea what this thing's going to be about. Like, there is no strategy yet. We had the special teams coordinator for the Saints who came in who was saying that, hey, there's going to be a lot of adjustments. And Bill Belichick saying, you may not put, receivers and corners out there. You may put offensive linemen out there because it's so much more of like a 10-yard game as opposed to a 100-yard game. This thing is going to be so different to be trying to get Justin Fields, who again is trying to be a quarterback, and say, hey, go out there and try to figure out how to do this new special teams thing. That is a waste. I mean, for the Steelers, I hope this was just cap. I hope this was Jalen Warren misheard something or took a joke that wasn't actually a joke or whatever. Like, I hope that this isn't true. Because again, if I was Justin Fields, I'd be livid if they asked me, hey, you want to do kick return?
You know what I love? Dan Campbell, the Lions coach, is so pumped for this. He's going to have Jahmyr Gibbs and Jamison Williams back there. It's going to be crazy. All right, what else, Bobby?
We're getting Game 7 on ice in Boston tomorrow night. The Maple Leafs, their second straight 2-1 win to extend that series. William Nylander scored both their goals last night in Toronto. Only one baseball game last night. The Astros beat the Guardians 8-2 to win back-to-back series for the first time this season. And $2.7 billion might be the price tag for the NCAA to settle the antitrust lawsuit it's facing over NIL. College sports leaders have been discussing ways to avoid losing in court and paying even more money to student athletes. This money would come directly from the NCAA itself, not from schools and or conferences. Guys, back to you.
Thank you, Andrew. All right, coming up, we're going to debate the young up-and-coming division in the NFL, and I think EJ's got it wrong about who is going to be the newest threat to come out of the NFC. That's next right here, Maggie and Perloff Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
Said that he could Peter Berardi. He made a prediction. Said that he gonna win. Celtics got no conviction, but now he's hiding, running away. Won't own up to his words, can't face the dismay. He thought Miami would rise like the sun in the sky, but now he's got excuses, got no alibi. He thought the Heat had it, it was a sure bet, but they couldn't handle Boston, not just yet. Peter Bellotti, where you at now? You made a bold choice, but where's your wow? Can't stand the heat in the kitchen. Your predictions cold. You're playing hide and seek, leaving us in the fold. You're playing hide and seek, leaving us in the fold. Peter Berardi, he made a prediction. Said that he gonna win. Celtics got no conviction, but now he's hiding, running away. Won't own up to his words, can't face the dismay. He thought Miami would rise like the sun in the sky, but now he's got excuses, got no alibi. He thought the Heat had it, it was a sure bet, but they couldn't handle Boston, not just yet. Peter Bellotti, where you at now? You made a bold choice, but where's your wow? Can't stand the heat in the kitchen. Your predictions cold. You're playing hide and seek, leaving us in the fold. You're playing hide and seek, leaving us in the fold. Peter Berardi, he made a prediction. Said that
I have
he
no
gonna
idea. You
win.
got any idea what the music theme is for today?
I was really looking forward to this theme because I never get to guess. I'm usually the one that's conspiring with Carlos.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening right now. I'm still trying to figure this out. We still got time, though.
EJ Stewart's sitting in. Maggie Gray is off today. Okay. You know I love my Detroit Lions.
Yep.
They are one of the most fun teams in the league. I think if you look at the Vegas odds, they are a favorite in the NFC. They're right behind San Francisco in there with Philly. Now, you think that this division, the NFC North, is not just about Detroit, that there are good teams coming up on them. Now, when you look at the other teams, Minnesota, Chicago, Green Bay, who do you think is the biggest threat to the Detroit Lions?
I talked about them earlier. Give me the monsters of the Midway. Now, I know this has been the Packers division for a long time, and there is a lot of excitement about Jordan Love, and there should be. I think the star power that the Bears are potentially putting together is going to make things very interesting in this North, because I do think that Caleb Williams is a supernova. You've talked about whether or not there's a curse with the Bears and quarterbacks, and just quarterbacks won't thrive there. I think that this is the guy that breaks the curse. He's so dynamic. He is so special. And unlike, like I said earlier, other number one picks where you're going to a situation with no talent, no offensive line, and you just go out there and do something, he actually has weapons, and he has a defense to lean on. You can make the case that Caleb Williams is better set up for success with the Chicago Bears roster currently as constituted than he was ever at USC or Oklahoma, considering how bad those defenses were. So I think that the Bears are going to be a real threat. I don't know if it's this season for the division, though I do have the Bears in the playoffs. I said that on the show the day after the draft, basically, or even before the draft. But I think that we're expecting the Lions just have like years of dominance in the NFC North. I'll say not so fast. I think the Bears are coming. I think they're coming really fast.
Wait, so first of all, okay, so you're not saying necessarily this year. But
no, but I think that you're going to see a very competitive division. And I think that, again, this idea that the Lions are just going to walk to NFC North titles this year and for years to come, I don't think that's happening, because I think the Bears are going to be a serious threat moving forward.
I don't think people think that the Lions are going to waltz over everyone for years to come, because there's another team in this division who's in the same boat as the Lions. The Green Bay Packers are just like the Lions. They have a young, talented quarterback in Jordan Love. They have this developing receiving core. Listen, I know they lost Aaron Jones, but they brought in Josh Jacobs. They have a defense filled with first-round picks. I don't know.
I was about to say, let's get to the defense now.
Filled with first-round picks.
They blamed a lot of that on Joe Barry, and he's gone. But
thank God for Packers fans. Here's the issue. You know the Packers have a strong front office. You know that they are often going to do the right thing. You know that Matt LaFleur is a good coach now, because he got to the playoffs without Aaron Rodgers. You know Detroit's GM, Brad Holmes, is on a heater. He is making nothing but brilliant choices. What do we really know about the front office of Chicago? They made a great trade to get the number one pick.
We know a lot,
They fell
actually.
to Caleb Williams. But, I mean, honestly, we know that they didn't fire Matt Eberflus. We know that they have, I would say, an uneven roster. Yes, they have some skilled receivers. Yes, they have Montez Sweat. But if you think this roster is complete like those other two teams we were just talking about, Detroit and Green Bay, no way.
So they got Jalen Johnson, great pick.
Yeah.
They traded for Montez Sweat. That was a trade that had to happen. That a lot of people, including me, thought was foolish, because they didn't even have the contract signed when they made the trade. Brought him in, changed the entire defense, so that's a hit. You mentioned the talented receivers. All the guys they have now are guys that were brought in within the last year. This front office, I think we're learning a lot about them really fast. I mean, you mentioned Eberflus keeping him, and it was a controversial decision. I'm not going crazy about them keeping Eberflus. I think that, look, he's like, his press conferences get goofy, and he's not the greatest talking in front of people when things are not great. I think that guy knows how to coach defense. And we've seen that defense rally and play a different brand of football. We want to talk about people who have struggled with that defense. Ask Jared Goff. Look at the 2 games that he had to go up against that Bears defense, and ask him if Matt Eberflus is a slouch. Because he played terrible in Chicago, and it took him like a miracle, basically 2 touchdowns in 2 minutes in Detroit to actually get a win. So the Bears coaching staff, I know we laugh at them, but a lot of that's been because of the offense. It's not been because of defense, and Eberflus has been the architect of that. And now they put together linebackers. They obviously signed Maggie's guy, Tremaine Edmonds. This Bears team is talented. The coach knows how to coach the defense, and now they got a supernova at quarterback who I think comes in and is an immediate impact player.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Chicago Bears quarterback history is it's a good one-on-one battle versus a supernova quarterback. That being said, we'll see who wins out that. Why do you think Detroit would ever take a step back? If anything, we have not even really seen the full Detroit experience yet.
I don't necessarily think that they will. I think that Detroit. I think I mentioned how I don't really love the Niners the way most people do. I think that you're seeing an NFC where it's kind of like the NBA. I think where I think you're going to see new teams ushered in. I think you're going to see the Lions battling 1 or 2 teams in NFC North for dominance throughout the conference. And we talked about the Packers earlier and how good they've been. I would pump the brakes on how great their front office has been of late. Their first-round picks have not been good. Let's be real. I mean, Lucas Van Ness, how great was he last year?
Lucas Van Ness is just getting started. I don't know why they
Quay
picked
Walker
him.
is a walking 15-yard penalty.
Dude,
and
that
guy will lose you
That
games.
guy oozes talent.
And oozes 15-yard penalties and knuckleheaded plays. And that's a Packer fan, what he's been. Jordan Love, obviously a great pick. Eric Stokes, they did not pick up his fifth-year option. That guy looks like a bust. So this idea that the Packers, yes, there was a time when they were getting Jair Alexanders and Jordan Loves and guys like that. You said, they're on a heater. That was a long time ago. They've done good with these second-round picks and third-round picks, but those first-round picks they have missed on. And a lot of people weren't crazy about this year's pick because there were other tackles rated higher than Jordan Morgan.
I love Quay Walker. Watch him play. Ooh, he's about to come on. All right, coming up next, we're going to talk about an actual Super Bowl team. Three Peat, could it happen? That's next. Maggie Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
It's Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff. Maggie is out today. She is actually giving a speech she was really nervous about. She has to cover 15 minutes. EJ, I don't know if EJ Stewart's sitting in. If you've ever given a speech, 15 minutes is a long time. She told me she has 3 stories and some points to make. I definitely have to get a clip. She said no video there. If anyone is going to be there tonight, upstate New York, take some video. I can't wait to make fun of her on Monday for this.
Yeah, we actually floated the idea of sending Andrew Kaplan up to where she's going to be to shoot some video, and you should have seen the look on her face. Like, I think she would have actually quit. I think she would have said, you know what, I can't. She would have called the people and said, hey, I'm not doing the speech. Sorry.
Yeah, you guys are so mean.
She would have made up some excuse because she does not want this getting out, which is serious, which means we have to get it out.
We 100% do. It's the equivalent of a graduation speech. That's what I view it as. Actually, I'm not sure if that's what it is. But there's nothing more boring than most graduation speeches. Do you remember, did you have a celebrity do yours?
Yeah, so I was fortunate enough in undergrad. I was one of the people that were like, one of the students to put on stage, as an honor student or whatever. So I got to introduce Wolf Blitzer.
Oh, Wolf Blitzer.
Who was our commencement speaker at Hunter College in 2013. So that was really cool. I got to meet him a little bit. He was a very nice guy. And then
you were in the situation room.
Situation room was just, it was, and you want to talk about doing speeches. I will say this, I don't know where Maggie, in terms of how this hall looks, but our thing with that Radio City Music Hall, which if you've ever been to New York City, is a massive, massive venue. Like, the lights were blinding. Like, if you had to do a speech there, let's just say don't wear white pants. I might be a little nervous because it's tough. So what Maggie's doing, I definitely commend her for it, and she deserves it.
I could get impregnated by a Raising Cane's lunch order.
Dartmouth College, where I went, humble brag, not so much anymore these days. Roger Federer is the guest speaker. Is that that's a really funny one? Such a funny one to go with an athlete. If I was going to do an athlete, I mean, who would be the one athlete if you could pick to have a pro come and speak to your college? Who would it be? I have an easy choice.
I mean, my answer is easy. You should know at this point.
No,
look what I'm wearing.
So you would have a New York Knick come and speak? Jalen Brunson?
Yeah, Jalen Brunson.
You wouldn't want LeBron?
No.
You're going to sit there and have to listen to half hour. What has Jalen Brunson ever said about anything?
I assume you're talking about like a school that I would have went to. So, I'm the New York school. So, it's just a general school. So let me answer the question.
Forget even the New York school. You'd still rather have Jalen Brunson, who scored 41 last night, is awesome, but is not the most interesting speaker in my mind, than LeBron James at your college graduation?
He's more inspiring to New Yorkers today than LeBron would be.
You're absolutely insane.
You don't tell your grandkids, I saw Jalen Brunson speak. Nobody says that.
It's not about who telling your grandparents who you speak.
That is kind of what it's about.
No, it's about inspiring the youth to go off and do great things once they're now graduating.
Oh, get out of
here. This EJ guy gets it.
Exactly.
Now, you're just bragging about Wolf Blitzer. It's about bragging about who you saw speak. It's not like actually learning anything.
No, Wolf Blitzer, and I loved it because actually I was a journalism major, so Wolf Blitzer being the person, that's why they wanted me to introduce him, was great. I was like, oh, cool. Yeah, this is something.
God, you were such a tremendous nerd. I love it. You were like, you actually were psyched. I thought you were just sort of being nice.
I mean,
you were actually psyched to have Wolf Blitzer speak to you?
It was cool. Yeah. Now, I will say this, because I think now that we're going off of like New York schools, because I thought you were talking about my school. If it was just any school, I would pick someone like a Kareem. Like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar would be really cool. He's spanned multiple generations. He's like somewhat of an intellectual thinker, a little controversial sometimes, but I feel like he would give a good speech. I feel like he would give a damn, because that's a big thing of it too, is don't go up there and bore people. I think that he would try to give you an engaging speech. So if I had to pick one athlete, it'd be him.
Yeah, I mean, because graduation speeches aren't boring enough, and I've only heard Kareem speak for hours and hours. Like, come on, it's got to be LeBron. Carlos, it's got to be LeBron, right? Or it's
it's you got to go for all-time greatness. Like, listen, I appreciate your fandom and you're living in the
Kareem
moment,
Abdul-Jabbar.
Bro,
Jabbar's overexposed.
Jabbar, and I'm pretty sure he has done commencement speeches.
You
could
many
probably find
speeches.
him online.
And he's brilliant, but we've seen that.
You would turn down LeBron James to come, and it's not even LeBron in just basketball. Everything that he does, he has a movie production company, so at least you're going to get a performance. He can legitimately act.
I questioned asking this question out loud in case I felt it was being a little elitist, but I'll ask it since now you guys are pressing me. LeBron didn't go to college. So
what?
So I mean, you're talking to a bunch of college graduates.
Oh, get out of here.
I think that's the thing.
Bill Gates didn't graduate college.
He went to college. Jesus. I mean, I don't know. I to me, if you're talking about college commencement,
yeah.
If you gave me LeBron James, that's amazing. He's an amazing celebrity. Sure, like that's awesome. I'm saying if you asked me to pick somebody that I think would be the most impactful for the youth or for telling your kids or whatever, I think there's a combination of things that factor in. I would pick Kareem over LeBron. Is LeBron on a short list? Sure. But, like, I don't know. I'm
that sounds like a poll to me.
Picking a non-college graduate to be a commencement speaker?
Do we throw Jalen Brunson into that poll?
I would feel bad for Jalen because he'd get like 0.3%, and it'd be all New Yorkers.
I'd find a way to hack the New York sports station here's Twitter and retweet it just so we can get the even.
EJ's like, well, if I could get Isaiah Hartenstein to speak, that's my second choice. I mean, you're caught in the moment a little bit with Jalen Brunson.
Did you see his floaters in the paint last night? Absolutely gorgeous.
What's the most famous commencement speech line of all time? I don't even know who said it. If I could give you one piece of advice, wear sunscreen. Have you guys ever heard that? Like, because all the other stuff is garbage. Live in the moment. None of that stuff ever sinks in. So,
well, you know that's funny. One quick story. Charles Schumer, the senator, he is notorious for graduation week going to every commencement speech. He's not even the commencement speaker. He just shows up and does a speech, and everybody welcomes him. He does the same exact speech.
He did my speech twice.
Single university college he goes to every year. So you want to talk about boring snooze fest? How about a guy telling you the same story about how 100%. He didn't get the girl in college because he went off to some internship, or whatever the stupid story he keeps telling. That
crap is crap.
That is NyQuil. That I get. I don't think you're getting NyQuil from Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He may tell you something about the civil rights era. He may tell you something. He may tell you LeBron sucks. He's a wild card. I think he may give you something very interesting.
Okay. LeBron actually, I can't find him ever doing it in college. He did do a tape piece that he sent out to high schools across the country. He is an incredibly inspirational person too.
Yeah, he is. And the one thing about this that may either help or hurt LeBron's case, he's also Le Cap. He lies a lot.
Yeah, so that makes it for a more entertaining speech.
Yeah, maybe he's more entertaining. I don't know if that helps him. Do you want to tell this? Do you want a guy who's going to go up there and lie probably 30% of his speech?
I mean, you just name dropped the politician.
Well, Chuck Schumer, that was 100% lies probably. There's no fair point.
I think let's talk about football for a second. I think Tom Brady would be one that would jump to mind. Maybe not the most entertaining one. You probably want George Kittle, so we talk about pro wrestling or something. But
honestly, no, I'd probably pick Chad Ochocinco.
Yeah, you're a huge. That would be fun.
He'd be awesome.
I got to tell you one guy who I think would make a lot of sense and would be good. Keon Coleman would be great. I don't know if he graduated yet. Patrick Mahomes would be very good, and I'm going to transition off of that into Patrick Mahomes. Is this a podcast? I saw him sitting down.
Jake Paul has, Logan Paul. Sorry,
Logan Paul. And Patrick Mahomes was at the wrestling event the other day, gave him a Super Bowl rings to knock out a guy.
What a heel move.
I love it. But it's interesting. I don't think Patrick Mahomes meant to do this at all with his quote, but I think he might have just lightly guaranteed a three-peat. Let's listen to it and decide what he means.
Dude, that play was freaking sweet, man.
Corndog.
It was not. It was it was not supposed to go to the guy that caught the touchdown. So we ran the Corndog one against the Eagles. Sorry, touchdown, won the game. And then we were going to run a fake version of that, and then we were going to do a little shovel pass, and it was wide open again. So next year, New Orleans, we're going to do it again. Put it on the table.
No way.
We're going to do it again. I'm telling you now.
Ooh.
Wait, what week do they play the Saints? No, he's talking about the Super Bowl.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, that guy oozes confidence. He's just sort of sitting back there. What do you think? First of all, EJ, was that a guarantee? And do you think he's going to be able to deliver?
So he's talking about the play Corndog or Cornhole, whatever it is, that they've run in several different Super Bowls. They've ran it twice.
Corndog.
Yeah, Corndog, and they've won those games. He's guaranteeing early. And he says, this year in New Orleans, we're going to do it again. I think that is a guarantee. At least you're going to get to the Super Bowl. That to me is, again, like now he's not like saying, I guarantee or we're going to go to the Super Bowl. But if you're saying, hey, like mark it down in New Orleans, we're running the play again. I put my life on that. Like, yeah, that is a guarantee. Will they come through? I don't think so. I think that both of these teams, both the Niners and the Chiefs, they've been playing like a la la land, I feel like. It just feels like everything's been so good. It doesn't matter what problems they face. They're able to overcome them.
Yeah.
And the idea that that's just going to keep happening to both of those teams, I think is not going to happen. We know.
You jabroni!
I think Rashee Rice is going to miss half a season, and they have a receiving core that is questionable. I feel the opposite that you feel about Xavier Ward. I think he is going to be really good. But there's going to be big growing pains. He's not a number one. He's more of a gadget guy. And I think this is an AFC that is also fierce. I know I pumped up the NFC, but Burrow's not going anywhere. We talk about Lamar Jackson a bunch. I know they lost him in the playoffs, but we know they're going to be a threat in the regular season for sure. Like, I don't see this happening. I look at the Chiefs roster, especially offensively. Yes, they have Mahomes, and yes, they have Kelsey, but I don't see this juggernaut. I don't. No. I see a team that's more of a defensive team.
No.
And I don't know if that defense is going to be able to play the same way without L'Jarius Sneed.
Well, that's the funny thing, too. They won their last two games of the season, 17-10 at Baltimore and 25-22 in overtime. It was a defensive team.
Yeah.
I've been pretty on the record that it's not going to happen. First of all, we've never had a three-peat. What hurt them last time they lost the Super Bowl, they had injuries on the front line, and Mahomes got destroyed against Tampa Bay. The odds of them staying healthy enough, I think you're talking about more like chemistry and guys got to get paid. To me, it's just health. Like they've had two good runs in a row. The odds of a third are hard. I also think San Francisco and Baltimore, those two teams in particular, their coaches are staying up 20 hours a day to figure out how to beat them, how to stop this Corndog play or whatever it was. Isn't it funny? I was just thinking about this as we're talking about. The Chiefs have 3 or 4 signature plays. They have Corndog. They had, was it Wasp, the play that they hit Tyreek Hill on in the Super Bowl? And then they have the ring around the Rosie play. They have these plays. There's very few teams where we know their plays. Logically, it is going to be very hard. Counterpoint, which I do understand, is I watched the video of this. Patrick Mahomes is a very confident man.
Yep.
He's GOAT material. So the only counter to the logic of no team stays healthy enough to win 3 Super Bowls is, wow, this guy is different.
He is different, and he's a guy I would not want to bet against. And I think it's funny because even though we can talk about those teams being defensive teams, and I agree, that's what I said earlier in the segment, when the chips were on the line and he had to be the guy, there was no denying who the best player on the field was, and he made the plays, whether it was against the Ravens where it became that first half was going to be crucial. They couldn't come out there and get their doors blown off because they couldn't score. So getting those early points immediately and then getting that first down to Valdez Scantling late in the game, and then, of course, the late drive against the 49ers in overtime. Like, when the chips are down and the game is close, that's the guy you want to see the least. So that's
same
the
with
part
the Super Bowl.
And that's the part of it that scares you because these playoff games we see, they're not these blowouts. You're not having a 38-3 kind of game most of the time. These games are within the margins. They're one possession. And I didn't even think about the game against the Bills as well, where he was great. So, like, these games are in the margins, and if they are, Pat Mahomes is not the guy I want to see. So, if there's anybody that can do it, it's him. I just think three-peating in the NFL is just so hard.
Maggie and I argue a lot about the Ravens game. Yes, the Chiefs won it, and it never got to that super close. You got to remember, Zay Flowers fumbled at the goal line.
Yep.
That game was 3 plays away from being completely different. And the Ravens had a terrible game, too. Can you imagine if the Ravens were on their game? And I think their coaching staff did not have a good game. I don't think they had an answer for Kelsey early. I think the Ravens, we forget about them. I know they lost a couple guys, but I like this. I had a friend, Sports Illustrated writer Don Banks, who always talked about revenge. Often works out in the NFL that teams spend an entire offseason focusing on a team. I think people are really, really focused on the Chiefs.
I really love Lamar Jackson. I love what the Ravens organization has been about. But you say they had an off game. And at what point do you say, no, they had a Ravens playoff game? Like, this has been in the Lamar Jackson era, unfortunately, who the Ravens look like in the playoffs. And we keep chalking them up to off games, bad break here, bad break there. It's not quite Embiid, but it's a little bit similar, where it's just like, at what point do you just decide this is who they're going to be? There are going to be some seasons where Lamar Jackson doesn't finish the season. There are going to be some seasons where he's great and he's healthy, but when they get to these big games, AFC Championship game, divisional rounds, they're not going to show up. They're going to have bad coaching decisions. Like, this is who they've been. So it's one of those things where you're going to have to show me you're not this before I buy in. Because I bought in last season and I got burned.
Well, first of all, that coaching staff has won a Super Bowl. It was a long time ago.
A while ago.
I think you saw Lamar Jackson take another step as a quarterback last year with Todd Monken, an offensive coordinator. It took him a while to get it down. And they just save him to the end, but unleash Derrick Henry like a fury in December. And I'm all there for the Ravens. And their defense is going to be good. I don't even care who's on that unit. They're going to find somebody in the third round who's going to destroy your quarterback, get $80 million on another team. That's just what the Ravens do, and you know it.
Ravens defense is awesome. Derrick Henry, I think I'm not sold on Derrick Henry.
Oh.
The reason why I'm not sold is because I don't like the fit in terms of how they play. Like, Derrick Henry should be playing with a team that's going to be under center more, where he can get downhill.
He doesn't have enough carries to do that. He's not going to be a volume guy, though.
But doing this, like, spread option stuff with Derrick Henry just seems like a weird fit. Like, I don't... Like, to me, I was banging the table for to get somebody with some speed. I really wanted them to get Saquon Barkley because I think he fit better.
So I don't know. He's not as healthy. Saquon still have speed at 28?
Yeah. Oh, no. If Saquon gets an open field, yeah, he can go. Like, it's
in the open field, I know, but he is not the quickest at the line. And
no, I disagree with that. I think that...
Oh, man. I've seen Saquon get tackled 2 yards behind the line.
No, the problem is he dances around too much because he's always trying to hit home runs because he's a home run hitter. Like,
honestly, I think if Keaton Mitchell comes back, he's quicker than Saquon Barkley.
I'll give you this. If the Ravens get this thing done offensively and they become the offense you think they are, it's going to be because Keaton Mitchell is a star, not Derrick Henry.
Well, it's funny, too. Zay Flowers has had some off-the-field trouble for sure.
Yes.
He's a good player. They just re-signed Rashad Bateman. They have a lot of faith in him. Mark Andrews will be healthy. And I understand you're not into Derrick Henry. I'm not into him if he's the best player on your offense. But he could be an interesting piece. Think if you're a defensive player, on one hand, you're geared up because you got to tackle the biggest running back in recent NFL history. And then on the other hand, the quarterback is the fastest player on the entire field. How do you adjust to that? I just think it's an interesting conundrum how you cover this team. And then you have wide receivers that can burn you deep. That's, I think, Lamar's best pass. I don't know how this guy's about the Ravens, but...
I have a question about the Chiefs, though, because that's what we were talking about at the start. Do you think this is a bad idea for Mahomes, whether he meant this as a guarantee or not? You think that there's no impact on this? Because
the dude just handed his Super Bowl rings to Logan Paul to win a wrestling match. He's on cloud 9 and nobody can take him down. No, I don't think there's any bad idea for Patrick Mahomes. That is a guy who everything he touches, I know he has family problems, but everything he touches works out. And I really believe that.
I know you do. The only reason why I kind of paused and kind of hemmed and hawed when I heard this is because for most of that season, what did we keep saying? It wasn't Pat Mahomes' fault. It was these terrible receivers who can't catch the ball, who can't line up correctly, who don't pay attention, who don't know the offense. And when you talk about putting pressure on a team, Pat Mahomes will feel no pressure. You're right. He could say this. He's kind of like we mentioned Jordan. I kind of think he's like Larry Bird. He walks in and says, "All right, who's coming in second?" That's I think his energy.
Yeah, Jordan.
The problem
had that
is
too, by the way.
I know. The problem is I don't know if Xavier Rhodes is like that. I don't know if Hollywood Brown is like that. In fact, there's much more evidence that he's not. I've seen him make more big drops than big catches. So we saw those receivers. They came through at the very end. Literally it's almost like you get the assignment due in college. You get it in right before 11:59 instead of midnight. Like That's what those receivers did. They were terrible all year, and right when they needed to be good, they were good. But can those receivers live up to those expectations that are already high? And now you got Mahomes saying, get the parade ready. The Three Peat's coming. I don't know. It's a younger team, younger receiving core than even last year. That would bother me a little bit and concern me a little bit because I don't know if those other guys can live up to that.
Yeah, I mean, let's not forget that Kadarius Toney actively lost 2 games for you.
Why is he on the team still?
Well, first of all, the funny thing is he's awesome, but he is the biggest knucklehead. He's had massive, massive mistakes and drops.
And somehow, and I know that I know the deadline passed. There was questions of whether or not they pack up the 5th option. I don't think they did because I feel like I would have seen that cross, but
they declined it.
They declined it, right? And there was questions about whether or not they even would pick it up, which seemed insane to me. But they waited this long to decline it. I don't know why he's still.
You're using way too much logic because you know that somehow Patrick Mahomes is going to spin 3 times and find Justin Watson 28 yards downfield. It's inevitable. We were talking about Marvel movies. He's got a Thanos feel, and I think the Chiefs are coming back. All right, we got to take a break. Next, we're going to talk about not Keon Coleman. Forget Keon Coleman, the Bills wide receiver who's every viral tweet now is about Keon Coleman. There's another Florida State player in the NFL who I think is even more entertaining. We'll get to that next, right here on the Maggie and Perloff Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Wendy's new Cinnabon Pull-Apart is here to satisfy your sweet morning cravings. Get your day off to a sweet start with Cinnabon Pull-Apart. Only at participating U.S. Wendy's. Sounds amazing. The NASCAR Cup Series makes a pit stop at Kansas Speedway this weekend. It's the Advent Health 400. Denny Hamlin is a guy to watch. Not only did the Toyota number 11 make it to victory lane last week at Dover, he's the defending winner of the Advent Health 400. The current favorite is driver standings leader Kyle Larson at plus 350. 267 laps on the 1.5 mile track is coming your way. It's the Advent Health 400 at Kansas Speedway. Green flag waves on Sunday, May 5th at 3 p.m. Eastern on FS1. EJ Stewart sitting in for Maggie. I know you want to say that real quick. I just want to read a comment from the YouTube chat, Infinity Sports Network YouTube. You can watch EJ in his Knicks jacket and me. You were railing, saying that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander will never be the face of the NBA because he's Canadian. Delta 9 Brian pointed out in the chat that a Canadian man invented basketball, so you cannot say that Canadians are not going to be the face of the sport, because that, to me, makes no sense.
But
what are you talking about? We have to a boot.
That would mean, though, that a Canadian has not been the face of the sport since the 30s, 40s, whenever basketball was invented. That's a long time.
I think it was I don't even know if it was a century.
Was it a century even? Yeah.
Dr. James Naismith wasn't the face of the sport.
I mean,
he invented the sport.
I don't think that means Canada's due now for a Canadian to be the face of the league.
I mean, we have to go to camp. If you're from Toronto and you started loving basketball because of Vince Carter, that's fine. It doesn't mean you're from Slovenia. It's totally different.
I know. And you know what? We're having a little bit of a Canadian basketball renaissance, so this would be, I think, a great
renaissance
exercise.
No, renaissance means that it's coming back from somewhere. There was, Leo Routins and Steve Nash.
Right. Renaissance is the wrong word. It's some kind of, I don't know, upbringing or whatever. It's crazy.
Yeah,
and there are a lot of great Canadian players, but we did once have recently a great Canadian player who's a back-to-back MVP. And no one would ever say he was the face of the NBA. Steve Nash was a superstar, was in big playoff games, great visibility, and never was the face of the NBA. And I really think a part of that was because he was Canadian. I do.
My God.
Naismith created the game in the 90s, by the way.
1890.
1891 to be more, at least to Wikipedia.
Not the Knicks 90s. Okay, so here's the thing about Steve Nash. I totally disagree with you. Steve Nash was popular enough to be gifted an MVP despite having the worst numbers of any MVP in the history of the sport. So
I think that's
dude, this guy scored 15 points a game and won MVP. It's an utter joke. Because everyone loved Steve Nash. He was actually, if anything, more popular because he was Canadian.
No, first of all, I think he should have won at least one of them. Number two, you're confusing popularity with the media with popularity with the fans.
Okay.
Because fans were furious and are still furious that Kobe did not get that second one. A lot of people are still furious that Shaq didn't get that first one. And those guys were way bigger stars than Steve Nash at the time. Those were controversial decisions. And there are people who feel like the media had it baked in for Steve Nash for various different reasons. And
because he never won. He never even made a final.
Kobe had never won a MVP before they gave it to Steve Nash twice.
Well, I'm just saying, no, but you can't be the face of the league and not make a finals in this conference, especially if you're a 6'1" point guard. There's no way to say that Steve Nash was not the face of the league because he was Canadian is not accurate because Steve Nash wasn't the best player. You got to be up there.
No, but we had a question earlier, and I'll pull up the results in a second. But we asked a question: who's going to be next face in the NBA?
Yeah,
Jokic is not even in our poll, and he's clearly the best player in the NBA.
Because the question is the next face of the NBA. I feel like Jokic.
Well, LeBron's been the face of the NBA for a while. He hasn't been the best player in the NBA for 5 years.
Well, yeah,
since the bubble.
But Jokic is not going to. If Jokic is not the face of the NBA now, he's not going to become the face of the NBA. He already has a championship and multiple MVPs. Like his time is, he's getting old. What is he? 28. I'm sure. I'm kidding. Joker's a different category because he doesn't seem to care. He doesn't do a lot of interviews. This is not. He just wants to play basketball and go home. We know that. That's the thing with Jokic. You can't become the face of the NBA. I think I went with Wembanyama. You went with Anthony Edwards. Yes. Bogus went with Ja Morant. Do we have poll results on that, by the way?
Yeah, I'm looking for a poll here. Yeah, so we asked who will be the new face of the NBA. 48% say Anthony Edwards, 38% say Wembanyama, 10% say Shai Gilgeous-Alexander,
Fools.
and 3% say Ja Morant.
So me. I say Ja Morant.
Yeah, you voted in this poll.
It's not the most timely time to pick Ja Morant right now, considering he's coming off an injury and all sorts of
idiocy.
Listen, it'd probably be Benedict Mathurin if he just wasn't from Canada. Let's be honest.
Or RJ Barrett.
Or Shaden Sharp.
Careful with the RJ slander.
Can it be Pascal Siakam that he doesn't play in Canada anymore? How does that work? Since he's no longer a Raptor?
No, it cannot be Pascal Siakam. It's the face of the NBA.
Lou Dort.
Pascal's not from America, is he?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, he played basketball. His college basketball was in America.
Yes, so were all the Canadian players. I mean, Jamal Murray went to Kentucky, and you're saying he can't be face of the NBA. The guy was at Kentucky.
But you know what?
There's a Kentucky in Canada?
When it comes to the face of the NBA, though, I think there is something about where they're from that is important. I think LeBron James being the hometown hero of Akron, he wears that as being the kid from Akron.
Yeah.
That's a big part of his story. We know, and you know as good as anyone, Kobe Bryant and how he is a worldly kid because he grew up apart in Italy, but he also reps the Eagles. He reps Philadelphia in a major way, and I think he doesn't. Yes, he does. What do you mean?
Well, he didn't even want to come to Philadelphia.
No,
they get booed there because he picked up all the LA teams.
Right, and it crushed him. It was one of the he said it's one of the most heartbreaking things that happened to him. Being booed at the All-Star game in front of Philadelphia. So, and I think that we do associate with these guys with their upbringings, and I think that Shai Gilgeous being from the Toronto area, I don't think that resonates with any American. I'm sorry.
I heard this take that, I think it's 5 MVPs in a row were not born in America. I have to double check, but a number of them. And Shai Gilgeous was a front runner. And somebody, I will not say who, was saying, well, AAU is ruining American basketball, and that's why we're not MVPs. And you're seeing MVPs from other countries like Canada. Mm-hmm. You don't think all the Canadian players grew up playing AAU? Where do you think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander played basketball in high school? You don't think he was in the AAU circuit? Well, of course he was.
Well, first of all, I said youth basketball in total, so it's not just AAU, it's also high school. But no.
Yes, so those guys are all on the AAU circuit. And
but you mentioned Canadian, and you mentioned Steve Nash, first of all, that's a whole different generation. But the other people that won MVPs, guess what? They were not on this continent. They were not on this side of the hemisphere.
Right. But
you're talking about Giannis, you're talking about Jokic, you're talking about Embiid, you're talking about Hakeem Olajuwon, that's going way back. You're talking about guys who were not in this hemisphere. And we're talking about how the game is coached over there compared to what we're seeing here, where the emphasis is on just playing as many games as possible. These players who are playing these games, the emphasis is for them is to do highlights so they can get a little highlight reel that goes up on TikTok or social or YouTube or whatever. And a lot of these guys become YouTube and TikTok stars rather than actual basketball players. Yeah. That's the reason why you see these guys go into the NBA as rookies that are one and dones and they don't work out.
Or is it that Victor Wembanyama is 7'5" and has the athletic skills of a 5-footer?
Why do you think he has the athletic skills of a 5-footer? Why do you think that is?
Oh, you're right. Because he didn't play AAU. Because he probably would have been Nick Claxton if he grew up in America. Get out of here! He's a freak. He's one of the most incredible physical people to come in. He's like LeBron.
You think somebody wakes up?
Yes, I think.
You think? Wait, hold on. Let me finish.
Yes, he woke up with that incredible athleticism.
Victor Wembanyama wakes up with that handling ability.
Yes,
that jump shot.
Yes,
that footwork. Yes. That turnaround fadeaway. You are out of your mind.
He's like LeBron. He's just an incredible combination of size and athleticism.
You don't just wake up and say, hey, I know how to shoot from 30 feet out at 7'5". You don't wake up and say, hey, I can just dribble the ball between my legs like a point guard. That doesn't just happen. That takes a lot of
you're right. Wemby's only great because he came from France, because all the great French players, like he basically, because he could model his game off of Boris Diaw and Nick Batum. That's why he's the next face of the MVP. What are you talking? The criticism of AAU is so silly. It's been around for 15 years. Everybody who comes out of AAU is great shooters, and I understand, like, I just think that American basketball, yes, the guys that are coming from overseas are freakishly skilled 7-footers.
Right.
That's height. That's called height. That's not called AAU.
No, it's not. No, it's not. No, why it's not height? Because if it was height, then what we'd be seeing Victor Wembanyama just living around the basket, dunking on people like Shaq, and moving people around. That's not what he's doing. Everything he's doing is skill and finesse. That's not something you're born with. That's something you work at.
Oh, did you notice that he's unusually tall? Did you notice that Victor Wembanyama doesn't look like others?
Usually that makes it harder for someone his size to do the things he does. That's why a lot of guys don't do it. And there's a reason why the Jokic's, the Dirk Nowitzki's, the Wembanyamas, that those guys have those skills, and that a lot of these American kids, they don't. We're not coaching them like that.
Like Zach Edey has the size, he doesn't have the skill.
Right, they're asking them to play a totally different game.
I know. That guy grew up on ice hockey. He doesn't have the athleticism. I got to tell you, though, there's no 6'2" guards coming from Europe. The guys who are playing AAU are 6'2". Those are the best small guards. You got Luka, who's 6'8", and also a freak. You got Jokic. We're talking about 7-footers, and Embiid, he's 7'1". So maybe they're not tall guys coming from America, but skill-wise, I mean, like, all the normal-sized guys coming out of AAU are better than the European players.
But I have a question for you. Why are those guys, and I'm talking about recently, when we talk about these guards, why are they not coming into the league and dominating the way they used to? Because that's what's happening. We talked about
I just watched Jalen Brunson drop 41 on my Sixers.
Right, and guess what? He played 4 years of college, and he played in college like 7 years ago. This is a whole different generation. I'm talking about the guys that you're great AAU youth guys. Yeah. You know, there was a time when John Wall and Derrick Rose were coming in breaking records as rookies. Guess what? You don't see that happening anymore. The reason why that's not happening is because you don't have the same killers coming up like the way they used to. They're not as good.
There's no college game anymore either. So
those guys played college 1 year. That's why I mentioned those guys.
John Wall. What did John Wall ever do?
What did John Wall ever do? He came in. He was rookie of the year. He came in. He was immediately got the Wizards to playoffs like second year. Like, what do you mean?
I'm also looking at a lot of very skilled American players. It's not like America's putting out garbage. I mean, Jason Tatum is going to be in the finals with Jaylen Brown. Anyway, we got to get to updates. We will revisit this heated U.S. versus Canada. All right, Bogus, what do you got?
For the first time, guys, in one whole year, the Sixers and Bucks have made early playoff exits. Game 6 in Philly, going to New York.
Cross court, Hart on the left side. One dribble, hands it back to Brunson. Shot clock at 18. Brunson up top, Hart. Wide open, three-pointer. Fires away, knocks it down. Josh Hart puts the Knicks up by 3.
That's Pat O'Keefe on Knicks Radio. New York finally winning 118-115 after seeing an early 22-point lead turn into a 10-point third-quarter hole. Josh Hart's go-ahead 3 coming with 24 seconds left. It was assist number 12 for Jalen Brunson. He also scored 41 for his third straight 40-point effort. The beat-up Bucks bowed out to the Pacers in Game 6 in Indy, 120-98 for their second first-round exit in a row. Damian Lillard did return from his 2-game absence, but Giannis never played in the series. Spin me, Doc.
I really like this team. You know, obviously we're going to have to do some things, right? But never really having the chance to do any of the two-man game that you're talking about with Dame and Giannis. We did it on that West Coast trip, and it was starting to cook, and then I think Dame went out, then Giannis went out.
Aw, never had my full team. Got here when we were 30-13. Never took off. What could have been. But I like the guys that we have to change out real quick.
You know what's funny is that, like, this is probably the one time in Doc Rivers' career, and trust me, he's going to remind us every time he gets a chance, that he may actually have a real excuse, and because he's made so many other terrible excuses, nobody cares.
Nope.
I think firing Adrian Griffin when they were, how many games over 500 were
17. They were 30-13.
It's amazing. Incredible. It could not have worked out better for Doc Rivers' critics.
Now, do you think in the next little bit that we find out that Giannis is legitimately hurt, like long-term, or just enough to not play now?
So it's calf, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Long-term would be Achilles, and I think we would know if it was a ruptured Achilles by now. So how could what's long-term?
I mean, you could still probably need, like, surgery to fix a muscle.
Surgery. I don't
Well,
think,
even so, get calf surgery. He could be back.
Like, do you think he's okay for? Is even Greece are they in the Olympics?
Yes.
So do you think he's good enough for that? Like
I think he'll play.
Okay.
Which
how many Antetokounmpos are on that team?
all of them.
How many are there?
All of them.
Yeah.
All of them are on there.
Well, that is a good question. I had no idea. Greece, do they have a good team?
They're okay.
They have him?
Yeah. When he's playing, they're more of a threat, but not a threat to really win a gold.
I'm fascinated by these one-man show. Like Luka's team. Does Luka have good players around him? Luka Doncic?
Not really.
They are probably, not to stereotype, full of guys who look like they should be smoking cigarettes on the bench when they come in the game.
No, you're pretty much on the money on that.
Oh, I used to love back when it was amateurs, and he'd be like some 19-year-old superstar going against a guy who had a full beard and was like high-fiving his teenage son in the crowd after the game. Remember Oscar Schmidt? You guys might remember. Oh, my God. Brazil. That guy, is he still around? The all-time international scoring leader?
Yeah, he got inducted to the Hall of Fame.
Awesome.
Yeah, recently I saw a video of Luka's Real Madrid highlights, or Barcelona, whoever he played for in Europe, and his team is just guys who are fresh out of the war. You would think they look like they're just like hard bearded, hairy back guys, and there's baby-faced Luka just dicing them up.
Which is why it was ridiculous that people didn't think he could succeed. Because, this was a guy at 16, 17 playing against men who, again, probably were at war at one point. That guy is not afraid of anything. And he's killing those guys as a teenager. What do you think he's going to do when he gets looked at and they call a foul in the NBA? He's going to live at the line and do what he's been doing.
I know. But I watch clips of the number one pick, or maybe the number one pick this year. What's his name? Zachariah Rasadra?
Yeah.
So he's like 6'10". He's a French kid. I watch him. He dribbles like a Harlem Globetrotter. It's crazy. But if Joel Embiid gets this guy on the post, oh my God. That's the thing. These skinny European players, I know they're skilled. Luka happens to have old man strength.
Yes.
The only problem is with the thing about these guys coming in skinny is, like I said a couple of days ago, all of them are skinny. So again, a Wembanyama and Chet, all we kept hearing was, well, when they get to the NBA, they go up against Joel Embiid. I'm like, yeah, that's one guy. That's the only guy who's going to be in the post, who's going to put you under the rim and dunk on you. And then maybe Jokic, who won't dunk on you, but will lay it in nicely after pounding you for 4 or 5 minutes.
But the whole Nuggets front line, they'll put some pain on you.
For sure, but just every other team, they're running these guys, centers who either aren't really offensive players, who are guys who are just defenders, or guys who are shooting threes, who are finesse guys. So it's a great time to be a Victor Wembanyama or a Zachary, like the kid that
Rasadra. I don't know how to say. But the funny thing too is there's a lot of height in this year's. The T-Wolves are gigantic and the Nuggets are gigantic. So maybe you do need to be big. I don't even know how we got here.
Let's go back to the Bucks for a second on a little more serious note. During this game yesterday, Pat Beverly threw the ball into the stands right behind their bench twice. The first one hit somebody in the head. The second throw was harder than the first. A guy caught it in self-defense. And then post-game, Beverly would not talk to ESPN producer Melinda Adams.
You subscribe to my pod?
Do I subscribe to you? I do not.
So you can't interview me then. No disrespect.
Well, Jamal is here.
You subscribe? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Okay, now maybe you were not sure if you're in the scrum here what is going on. Maybe that was a bad joke, but as the questions began and continue, Beverly pushes away Adams' mic twice and keeps going.
You'll move that mic, please, or just get out the circle, please, for me, please, ma'am. If you're not subscribed to my pod, I appreciate that. Thank you.
So he was not joking, and the lady actually did walk away. Nobody came to her defense. Overnight, Beverly tweeted that fans were messing with the Bucks bench all game, talking about throwing the ball into the stands, and then 6 hours later wrote, quote, "But I have to be better, and I will." So those two tweets, far apart, seem to be connected, which means he has not yet apologized for treating Melinda Adams of ESPN like he did in the locker room postgame.
Who's Jamal? She said Jamal is here.
Somebody else at the
I think it's a reporter.
Yeah, I think it's a reporter.
Yeah, Jamal Collier, I think. But yeah, that is odd.
Suspend him. You got to suspend him.
Well, yeah. Well, honestly, Beverly should sit down for a long time next season. I don't think this is it happened in the playoffs.
For that? For the ball. Oh,
for the ball thing.
Not the reporter.
For the ball thing.
Yeah, okay. I was saying,
I'll get to the other one in a second. But yeah, the ball thing, I'm thinking 15 to 20 games. Like, seriously, you throw a ball at a fan. Like,
not
to me,
once.
Twice. And if someone if he punched a fan and you hurt them, you're all gone for a season. You throwing a ball at them and using it as a weapon I don't think that much different to me. Like I think
it's reverse Malice in the Palace. He's literally antagonizing the fans. He's throwing his stuff into the crowd.
Right. It's a disaster.
Yeah.
And then on the other thing, which obviously was awful, there is no guarantee better in the NBA playoffs than Patrick Beverley going out like a sucker, which is what he did again yesterday, throwing the ball in the stands. And then the incident with the reporter from ESPN. There was a year before where he pushed Chris Paul in the back for like no reason, just went up and just wailed on him. It's I don't know. He's a guy. He's a character, and people say that he's a guy that helps you win. I've never seen him win anything. So at a certain point, like when does these antics wear themselves out?
Didn't help the Bucks. Didn't come to the rescue without Dame or Giannis.
He got the 76ers to the NBA. Oh no, you're right.
No, that wasn't him either.
Kind of
Rockets. Oh no, not them.
Kind of could. I mean, he's an older player. I mean, I'm not sure how much he really has left in the tank. Anyway, I can't argue with you. About the reporter thing. Listen, that happens. You can't kill him for.
No. You can kill him for that. That does not happen.
There are a lot of guys who will not talk to certain people. I mean,
right. And then, so when you have a legitimate beef with somebody, it should be worked out. It shouldn't come to the head standing at your locker after the game. But who turns around to the only woman in the group and goes, "Are you a subscriber to my podcast? No, get away from me." And then twice shoves her mic away from his face. And then
so wait. So she's a woman reporter. She's supposed to be treated with kid gloves.
No, she's supposed to be treated respectfully, and he seems to be targeting her because she's a woman. She's an ESPN producer. He doesn't. If he knows who she is, and that's an actual direct attack, I guess maybe it's a little. But to me, it's still bad. What else is he doing?
I got called a nerd by Larry Johnson once. You telling me this NBA players intimidating and pushing around reporters has been happening since Dr. James Naismith invented this sport.
I understand.
It's not exceptional in any way.
Well. This was different. Have you heard this or this before? Are you a subscriber? I'm not talking to you. What does that even mean?
Well, I mean, the guy's trying to hype up his podcast. He needs numbers.
No, there's no excusing it.
All right, but compared to the ball, that's nothing.
If you want to rank the sins, maybe it's the third of it's the least bad of all of it. But it goes into whatever decision they're making to punish him.
Oh, see, I don't think so. No, I think they should just go on the ball, and I agree with you. They should go heavy on the ball. This cannot play into that punish. I mean, the guy threw a ball at someone in the crowd,
right? And then possibly because it was a woman, treated her completely unnecessarily badly in the locker room post game.
It's the fact that she was the only woman in that scrum. And you're targeting her, and you're saying it's for a podcast, which is automatically ridiculous.
Right.
That alone kind of just makes this extremely unsavory. And I actually agree with Roach. I do think the reporter thing should, because at a certain point it becomes conduct detrimental to the league.
Right. All right, we got to take a break.
Yep.
Coming up next, we haven't talked Cowboys yet. We will next. Maggie and Perloff Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You know the music. That means Cowboy Quickie time here on the Maggie and Perloff Show. We're going to wrap up the week with a little on Dak Prescott. So Dak Prescott actually cleared of criminal charges. Big deal in Dallas. That's been floating around him. And now he says he wants to stay with the Cowboys. What do you think, EJ?
I actually think he needs to be more open to going somewhere else.
Like where?
Anywhere, really. But honestly, I think there are some teams, Raiders, Saints, maybe Jets if the thing goes south with Aaron Rodgers. I think the reason why I'm saying that is because there's clearly so much pressure that comes with being Dallas Cowboy quarterback, and he's going to be moving forward, as Jerry Jones said, with less. Jerry Jones has been very clear saying, hey, Dak Prescott and this team is going to have to win with less talent. And maybe
that's because of the salary cap, not because he wants less talent.
No, right. Whatever the reason is, that's the reality. So if you're Dak Prescott and you're saying, well, I grew up a Dallas Cowboy fan, I love the celebrity being a Dallas Cowboy, it's about to get a lot rougher than it's already been. And that guy's already in a pressure cooker. So why not go somewhere else that has maybe more talent down the line, maybe more cap flexibility down the line, and not all these pressure to be a Super Bowl or bust guy?
Wow. Okay, so let's go to the Raiders or the Jets, the two of the highest profile teams that lose every year.
I also mentioned the Saints, too.
I just think, first of all, you're not going to get the Cowboys' offensive line. You're probably going to end up getting $45 million from Carolina and get mauled. I just think that this situation is better than you think. Dallas went crazy on the offensive line once again in this draft. There's a lot going on that's good in Dallas. I'm sorry, that guy Will McClay, who's building the team, he knows what he's doing. I don't agree with that. I understand about the pressure. Yes, He might go to a situation with less pressure. But if a team needs a free agent quarterback next year, that means that they probably have some flaws, like the Jets and the Raiders.
Possibly, but or you could be the Rams and you get Matt Stafford and you win a Super Bowl. I don't think necessarily. Sometimes the flaws is the quarterback. The flaw may not be the other issues. Sometimes the flaw is, hey, we get a quarterback here, this thing changes. Also,
it's a lot different to hook up with Sean McVay than to hook up with Nathaniel Hackett.
You keep going to the Jets example. There are other teams.
Well, you're talking about the Raiders. They're team dysfunction.
Right, but you got Devontae Adams there who keeps saying he doesn't want to leave. Or what about the Steelers? That was the other team I had.
Right, and they have really nailed their offensive coordinator spot. Again, I just think that be careful what you wish for. I think there's a lot going on that's good. That dude is really good at Mike McCarthy's offense in the regular season. Playoffs is a problem. Oh, man, I'm glad we got through the show without...
That's grab a quickie, by the way.
Yeah. I'm glad we got through the show, and you were very generous sitting in for Maggie, who'll be back on Monday. I feel like you did a nice job of not making too much fun of me for my Sixers losing.
Well, look, at the end of the day, we have a text chain. We talk. I have plenty of time to gloat and to do all the things I need to do. It doesn't have to be for 4 hours on this show. We have listeners all over the country, in North America. Like, they want to hear a lot of different things. So they don't even want to hear me just talk about how the Sixers choked again and how the Knicks are this up-and-coming team that's on the rise and may make a Cinderella run to a championship. They don't need to hear that right now. They can hear other stuff, which is why I gave you a little reprieve.
Or they could just wait a week to make fun of them for actually losing to the Pacers, a team that has no right to be in the second round of the playoffs. Go, Indy, go, Indy, go. Thanks for joining us. Thanks to Manny, Carlos, EJ, Mark Ellis sitting in. See you next week. Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break.